They are doubling down at the post.
Well, because he lost his mind on social media last night on his website.
That's a strange dude.
Meanwhile, the Democrats are saying, Donald, get it together, man. We need you to be the nominee. Come
right.
on. We can beat you.
My mother-in-law flew in last night. Her connection got canceled before she even flew, so Eve had to pick her up in Sarasota at 11:30.
Hello.
Right.
So everybody showed up. What, got home about 1?
Oh, 1. I heard some buttons and some whatnot going on. I looked, it was like 1 something.
Hey, at least you didn't have to do it.
I offered.
Off today, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to see.
Still got to take Maddie to school, though.
I understand, but my guess is if she had to work today, you would have been in Sarasota.
Oh, there's no doubt.
But since
since it was in Germany, then you got to make
your bed, right? Now, see, what you got there is, you got a 10. Now, if you had 3 of those, you would have won. That's why they call me Mr. Vegas. I love that movie.
Good morning, guys. Happy Friday, Mongo.
Uh-oh. I got to switch over.
30 seconds.
And thank you, Adam.
Yes. Always. Thank you, gentlemen. You guys are nuts.
15 seconds. All right, here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Happy Friday and happy Veterans Day. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us on this Football Friday.
Football Friday.
There you go. There you go. Top of the morning to you, my friend. How are you?
Good morning, David. I'm doing well. Good little fun sports night last night. I didn't watch a whole lot of the football. I was going between basketball and hockey. Just one of those nights, just kind of flicking around, watching games.
Well, Mark, you're better off for it. You really are. The less of Thursday night football, Man, I think Al Michaels and Joe Buck are going to have to go and fight this out as to which primetime platform can get a better game. Whew, baby. But good news for the Bucks. Carolina rose up, ran it down Atlanta's throat, beat the Falcons. So you know what? You can lose over in Germany. You're still in first place.
What a division.
What a trip. You know what? Because Carolina won, go out to the pubs tonight. Just tie one on. You know, Tom, you're a free man. You know, go out, get frisky. No? All right. Okay.
If it was October and it was still Oktoberfest, maybe. Since the month passed, I don't know.
See, I'm led to believe it's Oktoberfest all the time in Germany. That in our country, you know, we have to do something like that, you know, and market it, promote it. I'm just kind of led to believe that it's a day that ends in Y over there. It's go time. No?
I'll take your word for it. I've never really had that thought about the Germans. They're, you know, Oktoberfest is their big thing.
Right.
They're not nutty crazy. They kind of play their cards close to their vest a little bit more.
Well, that's not the video I'm seeing. Let me tell you. The NFL's in town, Mark. It's a celebration, although it's not the F1 in Vegas. Did you see what Vegas released last night as to what the strip's going to look like? And they're going to start putting the whole packages for sale. Mark, I got to start saving. We're going.
Good luck with that.
Come on.
Well,
if I raise the money, okay.
Yep, David Dunn. You raise the money, you get that $10,000, $12,000, $30,000 that it would take to take in this race the proper way. I'm in.
What do you mean?
You're not doing it for $400 or $500.
Well, I know that. I thought the packages were going for like $3,000. Okay, now not the packages. I mean, come on. But just to be able to, you know, I mean, it's more than like a high school football grandstand here. I mean, it's a little bigger than that. So the first figure I saw was $3,000. Now that doesn't include, you know, hotel and
airfare.
Right. Well, I mean, it's Vegas. I mean, come on, bada bing, bada boom. I mean, that's not too bad. Besides,
you know, I know you're flying a lot, David, but let me just enlighten you on something. You haven't bought an airline ticket in a long time. I don't care where you're going. These tickets aren't cheap.
No.
When you're flying with miles, it's wonderful. And when you're having someone else pay for it, it's even better. But when you actually have to buy a ticket, and I've done that recently because the holidays are upon us, good luck with that.
No, I actually have bought a ticket. Okay, fairly recently. I have. All right. And I am also aware. I mean, when you cash in these miles, it's like, well, wait, you need how many miles? No. So I get it. I do. I really do. But listen, I don't bring much to the table, Mark.
I'm not doing F1 like we're going to a minor league baseball game here. If we're doing F1, we're doing F1.
Oh, man, that's kind of how I was thinking we were going to do this. Midweek, we were going to the Savannah Bananas, and then we were headed to Vegas. No? All right. I'll have to do this right then. Man, I sketched it out last night and everything. Okay.
Keep buying those Powerball tickets.
Well, you know, Mark, now it's only $20 million. I mean, it's not even worth winning now.
Well, we could have a hell of an F1 trip on that.
Well, that is true. That is true. After, you know, the taxes, and then we take the lump sum, and then you and I got to split it in half. Okay, we probably could afford the F1 trip, and maybe even the Savannah Bananas.
There you go.
Then after that, well, we got to go back to work. But, hey, speaking of money, I was just living in fantasy land for about 20 minutes last night. Wouldn't it be nice? And I know everything's relative, and we talk all the time about sports is not the real world. But wouldn't it be nice just one time in your life you could be like Justin Verlander and you could turn down your option to work the next year for $25 million because you turn to your supermodel wife and you say, you know, honey, I mean, we got 2 kids to support. I just don't think 25 million is enough. So I'm not going to go to work unless I get a multi-year deal for more. And she goes, "You're right, honey. It's not." That's all. I was just laying in bed last night. Lights were out. And I was just thinking, man, wouldn't that be nice?
I'm going to lay out one of the main differences between Miller and Moulton. If I'm laying in bed thinking about anything about Justin Verlander, it's about his wife. Thinking about Justin Verlander opting out of a contract. I just want to lay that out. I'm not trying to cast any dispersions towards anyone.
No, that's a very fair assessment. It's just, you know what? That's a very good scouting report on Miller and Moulton right there. One of them lays in bed thinking about Justin Verlander's life, and the other lays in bed thinking about Justin Verlander's wife. You know what? Let's market that. It should be, I don't know if you can put that on a t-shirt or what have you, but damn it, let's market that. How are we not getting sponsors when that's our show in a nutshell, huh?
Sponsorships available. Call now.
Call either Justin Verlander or his wife. Well played, my friend. Well played. But there's just, that's the world, that the people that we are talking about, that we are following, that, that's their world. It's a little different than ours. That's all. And I know we know that, but sometimes certain things need to be brought to our attention. We just accept them as the business of the day. What happened? Well, Justin Verlander opted out of his contract. Oh, was it a bad one? Well, yeah. What was he going to make next year? $25 million. Oh, well, I could see why he opted out. All right. I mean, he's 39 years old. I mean, who's going to go to work with nearly 40 for $25 million? I agree. So that's all.
What are the Dodgers paying, Kate? What do you think they're going to give me?
Right. Where do you want to live? New York, L.A.? You married to Houston here? Because they're only willing to go to a certain point. They may only go to about $33 million. Can we live on that in Houston?
And if the Mets aren't going to sign DeGrom, I'm pretty sure that guy will pay me whatever I want.
Right. And you know what? He may even sign me if he does re-sign DeGrom. Because he's apparently got money to burn. So that's all. Just little things like that. I mean, what am I going to do? Watch Thursday Night Football? That was terrible. Whoo wee. Dude, what if I'm Desmond Ritter? I sort of feel like Jameis Winston. It's like, what's it going to take for me to get on the field? Man, I mean, Coach, I know I've been around in this league for a while, but this doesn't look very good. You sure we can't do better? I can't do better than that?
He's only handing the ball off and running for the most part. You're not even making him throw the football.
I mean,
when he doesn't do it very well.
Oh, Kyle Pitts is wide open over the middle. He's got a big wingspan. I don't know if you've noticed. He's like 6'4", arms and legs. I'm pretty sure I can hit him. I mean, he's open. No? Okay. I'll stand here, relay the plays. So the NFL, and this is when by the way, don't gamble. I know we talk a lot about gambling, and we love it. And when we finally get gambling in this state, and our commercials are going to be nothing but sports gambling ads. Last night, another prime example about why it is so tough to win when you gamble. Mark, what was the one bet I loved in last night's game? The over-under.
Well, you loved the over.
I did. Yeah, the over
because they scored a bunch of points last time.
Yeah, they scored like 70. Yeah. Uh-huh. And Carolina had given up like 70 points in their last 2 games. Total.
Right.
So, yeah, I love the over 42. And in fact, the over-under went down to 41.5. They missed 3 extra points in the game. So the final total's 40. I only needed them to hit 2 out of 3. Seriously? Unbelievable. I'm glad the last one got blocked. I am, because it really would have frosted my you-know-what to have the over-under total be 41, and I've got 41.5. At least Carolina had the dignity to block that last Atlanta extra point attempt so that the total only got to 40.
Which is funny that you did take the over in that game because you like trends more than the average gambler.
Mm-hmm.
You like to follow trends.
Yep.
And the trend has been to play the under in primetime games overwhelmingly. Not just the under in the NFL, but the under in primetime games has been even that much more dominant. And well, you went with the over.
I did. And I would have won if they had made most of their extra points. Not even all of them. That's when you know this is not your year. So with that in mind, I've got about 37 picks.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. It's harder than hell for me to just get to 5, and you've got about 11 coming. Feeling it in a little more than an hour. David and I will make our picks. Lee Sterling in a little more than an hour as well to make his picks. Pat Kirwan and Chris Landry also on the show today. Thanks for listening. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Go Raiders. I hate everything Boston. None of this stuff is mine. This is a studio that we rent. I want every Boston team to lose every game they play. Nothing makes me happier when Boston teams lose. I hate the Bruins. I hate the Red Sox. I hate the Patriots. I don't like anything Boston. I don't like the Celtics. I just happen to be in a studio that we rent, and the guy who sits here, who works here, is from Boston. The other guy that sits where David used to, that would be more my speed because he's got the Lions, Tigers, Pistons, and Red Wings behind him.
But Mark can't sit there because of what's on the computer, and he needs to be sitting at that one. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there.
Now, I had no problem with the Patriots with Brady. I hate their fans, but I had no problem watching because it was greatness. I like great teams. And for that reason, this Celtics team's fun to watch. I don't hate them as much as I hated the Celtics of my youth. I cared more then. I had a lot more hostility toward teams then. But I think there are certain fan bases that should lose every game that's played. David wants this parade.
Well, they had a run there where they had a lot of parades in New England.
Yes, they did.
I mean, the Celtics only had one, but I mean, still, they've knocked on the finals door like 3 other times. I mean, in the 21st century here, every team in Boston's had a parade. Bruins won 1, Celtics won 1. Red Sox won what, 4? Patriots won 6.
Who's running the show with Self out? Is Dooley the head coach for 4 games?
No. And I don't know if he's allowed, because his job doesn't really allow him to, I think, be on the bench.
Oh, okay.
But I'm wondering if with Self out, if he's allowed to be on the bench, because it's not only Self, but it's another assistant.
Right.
He's allowed to sit behind the bench, but I don't think he's allowed to be on the bench.
So you know how the Panthers wore that black color scheme with the black helmets and all that black.
Uh-huh.
Black Panther came out last night. Marketing scheme? No, I'm just kidding. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Happy Veterans Day. And thank you to all veterans. I know it's not enough, but it's all really we can offer. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Lee Sterling will make his picks 1 hour from now. Did you see the NBC golf news yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay. For those that missed it, NBC making some changes to their golf coverage. Roger Maltby, who's been their lead on-course commentator for 30 years, out. Gary Koch, who's had one of the towers for damn near 30 years, out. So it's, there's not a lot of people involved, Mark, in a golf telecast that have microphones, and there's like 6 usually, and 2 of NBC's 6 are out. That's with Faraday leaving after the Open Championship. NBC's golf coverage is going to sound very different next year.
Certainly going to be a lot younger. I mean, these guys have been doing it a long, long time. They were both near, if not in their 70s, nearing 70 years old. I like Maltby. Coke could take or leave. I have no I mean, this is not much of a surprise to me. You got guys that are of retirement age and they want to make the broadcast sound a little younger.
Mm-hmm. But let's face it, the golf audience is old. I mean, you and I are younger golf viewers, and we're in our 50s. I mean, the golf audience is old. I mean, baseball looks at the golf demographics and go, wow, you guys are old. So in that respect, I find it interesting. Also, I don't know that it makes a whole heck of a lot of difference.
Well, there you go. But I think we're a little off on that because obviously if it didn't make a difference, ESPN's Monday Night Football ratings would have been the same. The games aren't any good. And all they really did from this year to last year was change broadcasters, and there's been a significant pop in ratings.
Well, at least until the last 2 weeks, because now people are like, Joe and Troy, you guys sound better than the other guys, but I can't watch these games. Sorry. Sorry, can't do it. But yes, you're right. Sometimes it makes a difference. You know, I don't know who's out there. Put it this way. Who's on the Golf Channel that was being kept down? Because NBC owns the Golf Channel. So, and they have worked some of their golf, like Steve Sands keeps having slowly and slowly more of a role in NBC's golf coverage.
Hey, I'm hoping they found another caddy. And I'm not joking because I'm trying to, they had Bones on, then they got the other caddy on, and I can't think, his name escapes me right now. He's great. I love that perspective. I don't need a guy that hadn't played on tour in 40 years. I'd love to get more caddies because I think it gives a whole new perspective to the broadcast. I lightens it up.
I have no problem with them moving on from Maltby, to be honest with you. To me, I thought it was obvious the last few years. I mean, Raj isn't keeping up with the action. I mean, he's on a golf cart smoking heaters, and he's hundreds of yards away from many shots just guessing. I mean, really, I think you can tell, to be honest. That's how, out of it, I think Maltby's been. I actually like Gary Koch in the tower. I don't know, liked his voice. Just, he was concise. I don't know. And I thought he did his homework, so in that sense he was still relevant. But who on the Golf Channel? Because let's face it, that's in all likelihood, that's who they're promoting from. There are a couple of guys on the Golf Channel in which you're like, man, I wish NBC would actually put these guys on their telecast. Because that's the bullpen. And it's a big bullpen. I mean, does anybody want Rich Lerner, Steve Sands, Duval, Begay, Chambly?
Well, nobody wants Chambly, but they may put him on anyhow.
I don't think so. That'd be pretty polarizing.
Johnny Miller was really polarizing.
Not like Randall Chambly, but
Johnny Miller had hated by more people. David, I don't know if there's a golf announcer that's been more disliked than Johnny Miller. I mean, that was the one when I'm watching a tournament and I'm on a text line with 10 people. That's the one that they're all attacking. That's the one they were always all attacking. I never had a problem with Johnny Miller. You never had a problem with Johnny Miller. I'm just telling you, in the country club that I belonged to, in the friend group that I hung out with, Johnny Miller was the most disliked golf announcer ever. And it's tough to do in that sport because they want to like everybody. Chambly's there.
Yeah, I look at Randall Chambly as like a Johnny Miller wannabe. There's only one problem. Johnny Miller has a Hall of Fame resume. Randall Chambly does not. But so that's all. I just thought, we're Florida Sports Network got a lot of people in this state who watch golf. I mean, this state is the guts of the Golf Channel. And so just,
Which is why they moved to Connecticut.
Exactly. Exactly. Because when you think home of golf, you don't think Orlando or Myrtle Beach or, someplace like that in the States. You think Greenwich. Correct. Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I would hate to see it be Chambly, but it wouldn't shock me, if you know what I mean.
It won't be Chambly. It won't. I mean, you think about it. They took an on-course commentator off, and they took a guy from the tower off. So, guys that they have been working in more. Steve Sands, they've been working in. Justin Leonard, okay, they've worked in now. He's kind of like, Azinger's the A team. Justin Leonard's the B team in terms of sitting next to the main anchor and commentate. A guy I liked, I worked with him. I know him a little bit. If they're going to give a tower to somebody, give it to Shane Bacon. He's done a ton of golf. All right. BBC hired him to do Open Championships before anybody even heard of him in the States. He works for the Golf Channel. So, but if you think about it, Maltby was the guy who always had the final group.
Right. And they wanted him out a couple of years ago.
So, by the way, golf season's over very nonchalantly. Yeah, you too. It kind of what CBS did like a year or so ago with, McCord and Costas. And you don't get to say goodbye to the audience either. You're done. That's it. It's over. That's all. I thought it was worth mentioning.
Text line is open. 21,000 is the number. If you've never texted before, FSN radio is the keyword to text the show. Once you've done that, you've essentially eliminated the gatekeeper and can text as much or as little as you would like. Always getting text all hours of the day because we know you can catch the show any way you want by downloading the Miller and Moulton podcast at your leisure, and you can take in the show however you would like to take it in.
And feel free, FSN Radio 21,000. Let us know who you'd like to see in the booth, by the way, and your thoughts on the announcers. And I think in golf they matter. There's so little downtime. There's so much downtime in the sport. I actually think the announcers matter as to your enjoyment of the product.
And I've never been a huge fan of the NBC golf coverage, so that's maybe why it doesn't resonate the same way. I like what CBS does a hell of a lot better than what NBC does.
Okay.
Miller and Moulton. That all leads us to the starting five that's coming up on the other side. Lee Sterling at 7:21 to make his picks. Pat Kirwan at 8 o'clock to talk the National Football League. David Moulton starting five is next on the Florida Sports Network.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
DC, what do you mean by who are Tarico's buddies?
I think what he's saying is he is NBC. He gets to pick. He's trying to play conspiracy theory.
Yeah, the only thing Tarico's not the main guy at is golf. They didn't kick out Dan Hicks.
Light Bright wasn't in the Toy Hall of Fame already?
That's an outrage.
Nerf is not in the Hall of Fame.
Come on.
It was a finalist. Bingo was a finalist, didn't make it.
What the hell?
The top Masters of the Universe and Light Bright were the three. I will give this hall some credit. They're not putting in 10 every year. I mean, Canada Relief, that is very true. And then the other thing, my daughter is mesmerized by why we say you're welcome. Thank you. You're thanked. Thank you. You're welcome. Welcome to do what? Welcome to come in your house? Because translated, no other language uses that.
Yeah, because like regularly you just say no problem. Like in Spanish, you say hey por nada. No problem. Don't worry. Yeah, you're welcome is weird.
But what is gracias is obviously thank you. De nada, what is the literal
De
translation?
nada. I think de nada is also you're welcome, but I think like no, de nada is like no problem. Yeah, nada. Nada is no. Like nothing. Don't mention it. Kind of.
You're welcome doesn't make sense from a language standpoint.
And this was your daughter that uncovered
yes.
this? Your daughter's a genius.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
'Cause now, ever since Elon bought Twitter, you don't know what's true and what's not. Okay. Because there was something under the Miami Dolphins Twitter handle. And I'm like, is this true?
It's a fake Dolphins account. I'm starting to get really annoyed with Elon. I mean, he's treating Twitter like it's an old Toyota Tacoma that he just keeps modifying.
Oh, you spend $44 billion, you get to do with it what you want.
Annoying. He's ruining my favorite app. $15 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Happy Veterans Day. And for those that are or have served, we owe you a lot, and we thank you. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Lee Sterling in 40 minutes' time. He'll make his picks. We'll make ours next hour as well. It's not something that you promote as actively as you do Lee Sterling's picks. Just saying. Just saying. Like, I said take the over last night. And the over-under was 41.5 at kickoff. They scored 40, which is an under. They missed 3 extra points. Seriously? Seriously. Unbelievable. And so, it made me consider stop making picks for the rest of the year, Mark. Kind of where your conclusion a month ago. You gave up.
Well, and yesterday, my daughter, because of school being out because of the hurricane, she was in the studio and didn't want to do anything on air, but I just simply asked her, Falcons or Panthers? And she shouted at both of us, Panthers. We didn't listen. We didn't listen.
So there you have it. So Lee Sterling and an 8-year-old's picks coming up next hour. Right now it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Carolina Panthers ran it right down Atlanta's throat last night. 232 yards rushing. 25-15 Carolina. They're 3-7. Heck, they could only be a game out of first if certain things go a certain way in Germany this Sunday. Atlanta's 4-6. Heck, they could be tied for first if the Bucs keep losing. Carolina led 13-3 at the half, and Atlanta made a late rally and, had the ball down, 7 late with a chance to tie and went backwards. So there you have it. Carolina beat Atlanta. Woohoo! Other NFL news, the Bucs flew to Germany, and Antoine Winfield Jr. is with them. He'd missed the last 2 games because of concussion. He got cleared to play, and that's good because that's a long flight if you've got a concussion. Las Vegas put Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow both on IR. The Raiders did. So it's like Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs and no one else for the Raiders.
They are playing the Colts.
Right. That's the good thing. Okay. The bad thing is the Raiders are so bad we don't know whether to take them against the Jeff Saturday-led Colts. That's how bad they are. They're 2-6. Mark, this is when things are going badly. Blake Martinez was the starting middle linebacker for the Raiders against Jacksonville last Sunday. He led the team in tackles with 11. Yeah, he retired yesterday. Played his best game in like 2 years and retired off of it. He's 28 years old. Says, yeah, I'm done with this. Josh Allen didn't practice again. So, he ain't playing Sunday. Come on. We can give up that ghost. Officially, though, Mark, his status is, quote, up in the air. Is that day-to-day?
That's day-to-day.
Is that day-to-day?
That's day-to-day.
Okay. The D.C. AG, that's District of Columbia Attorney General, filed suit yesterday against everybody that he could think of. Daniel Snyder, the Washington Commanders, the NFL, and Roger Goodell. He said they colluded to deceive fans about the whole investigation into the team. I got to be honest. I'm sure he's right. I mean, does anybody really think he's wrong?
No.
I mean, they did their investigation, and remember, they wouldn't let it be released publicly.
Right.
Gruden's emails, they went public.
Couldn't get those out fast enough, David.
The investigation into the Commanders, there's no reason to see this. We'll just do a presentation before the classroom. And just, you all need to take notes. In fact, you're not allowed to take notes. You just need to pay close attention. Right. So now whether he can, I think, Mark, this is all just a big thing. It's just to get Snyder out. That the suits against the NFL and Goodell and have you, that'll all go away. I mean, listen, Dan, you better be serious about getting rid of this here team, okay? By the way, this attorney general apparently is like leaving office in 2 months. So, I mean, who knows if the next attorney general is even going to follow through with this. College football last night, the two home teams won and covered. Memphis beat Tulsa 26-10. Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, beat Georgia Southern 36-17. College hoops from last night. FIU beat Florida National by 21. Bethune-Cookman got blown out at Indiana. Stetson was supposed to play, but because of the storm, their game was canceled. Major League Baseball, a lot of news yesterday, Mark, because 5 o'clock was the deadline yesterday for everything, for players to pick up their options, for teams to pick up player options or decline player options. The Rays declined the $13 million option on Kevin Kiermaier, likely ending his Rays career. The Rays then traded Ji-Man Choi, their first baseman, to the Pirates for a minor league pitcher. And with the Rays, you never know, is it financial to give them a little more flexibility, or is it because they got a younger guy who's cheaper and they want to make room?
I'd vote on B.
I actually think it's both. I actually think the Rays are going to try to sign somebody. I mean, if you remember, believe it or not, Freddie Freeman's had 3 offers last year. Dodgers, Braves, Rays. Rays offered him $25 million per. It was just a really short-term deal. The San Francisco Giants declined their $13 million option on Evan Longoria, but they had to pay him $5 million to be done with him. So it was really an $8 million decision. Longoria turns 37 this season. What do you say, Rays fans? Have him end it where he began? I mean, Mark, this team lacked offense last year, and I know
They did.
Longo's had trouble staying healthy the last couple of years, and he will be 37. But, man, even if he, I don't know, platooned, if he was the right-handed bat at third, or, you could probably get him to be the right-handed bat at first.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I think the third base days may be done, but maybe a right-hand bat playing first.
The Dodgers declined their $16 million option on Justin Turner. I am shocked by that. A, he is still very productive. B, he is the guy in the clubhouse with the Dodgers. I mean, as big a presence as Kershaw with the Dodgers. And 3, just won the Roberto Clemente Award as like the best damn guy in the sport, basically, is what that award says. And they had to pay him $2 million to not pick up his. I mean, that's a $14 million decision for the Dodgers. I mean, that's like an appetite.
Tip money.
Yeah. 14 players were given the qualifying offer. Qualifying offer is just under $20 million. And, when the players refuse the qualifying offer, then the teams get some sort of, draft pick compensation when they go and sign wherever they're going to sign. The Aaron Judge, DeGrom, Trey Turner, Bogarts, Dansby Swanson, guys like that got the qualifying offer. Apparently Bogarts and the Red Sox are only $100 million apart. No big deal or anything. Just $100 million. And, Swanson and the Braves are about 40 to 50 million apart. That one bears watching. People think that could be Freddie Freeman all over again. NBA, the Heat blew a 12-point fourth quarter lead, trailed by 4 late. Jimmy Butler said, "We're not losing tonight." He had a couple late buckets, forced overtime. He had 35. Heat beat Charlotte 117-112. Atlanta over the Sixers by 9. You know, the Portland Trailblazers have the second best record in the West. I don't know what's more shocking, that or the Utah Jazz have the best record in the West.
It's the Utah Jazz,
Okay.
and it's not close because everybody they got rid of. But Portland's done a nice job refilling that roster, and they're playing really well.
On the fly, too, remember? You know, last year at this time, Damian Lillard's thinking about requesting a trade, and new head coach and general manager said, "Could you just give us a year?" Well, they're 9-3. They beat New Orleans in New Orleans by 11. And Washington beat Dallas 113-105. Hockey, bunch of games last night. The Bruins are 12-2. They beat Calgary 3-1. The Rangers and Red Wings were having a nice little hockey game. It was 2-2 through 2. It was really enjoyable. And then the Rangers scored 6 goals in the third period. They haven't scored 6 goals this week. 8-2. The Devils have won 8 in a row.
8 in a row for the Seth Everetts,
who texted me last night after they scored late in overtime. So did my Jersey lawyer buddy. And they're like, they both texted me 8 with an exclamation point. So I, of course, said, yes, the Rangers scored 8 tonight. Thanks. Buffalo lost to Vegas at home 7-4. Carolina, I should say, Mark, you said this is going to be the game of the night. And Carolina said, well, okay.
For us.
Right. Svechnikov with a hat trick. He's got 11 goals on the season. McDavid with another goal and an assist night. Once again, just, you know, so below.
He's got 30 points already.
15 goals. Yeah. It's like goal a game, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Columbus beat Philly 5-2. Arizona shut out the Islanders 2-0. The Blues snapped a 7-game losing skid. They beat San Jose 5-3. Colorado beat Nashville by the same score. And the LA Kings, with 1 second left in overtime, scored to beat Chicago 2-1. In golf, Greg Norman may be out or getting pushed upstairs. How about that? At LIV. Apparently, the LIV Tour is in negotiations with the former CEO of TaylorMade, and he'll become the new face of the tour. And they'll move Norman, you know, upstairs. Mark, he's no longer the general manager. We're going to make him president. Technically, he oversees the TaylorMade guy, but the TaylorMade guy will become the face of the tour. Don't laugh. I actually think this would be brilliant, because now Norman's become very polarizing, and I think it would be. And here's a guy who did business with the PGA Tour. If the thought is that, you know, eventually these tours are going to have to sit down and work something out, I actually think this would be brilliant by LIV. Four-way tie at the Houston Open. Tony Finau, one of those, tied for the lead at 5 under. NBC, Gary Koch, Roger Maltby, no longer part of their golf coverage going forward. And Mark, one other note, you know, the Men's World Cup is beginning a week from Monday. The U.S. women's national team lost their 3rd straight match yesterday, a friendly to Germany 2-1. You know, when was the last time the U.S. women's soccer team lost 3 matches in a row?
I would guess never.
Bill Clinton was in his first year of his presidency, 1993.
Were they playing men's teams?
just saying.
I'm just saying, too.
I know, because Mia Hamm was on those teams, but just, you know, anyway, it's a bit of a rut right now for the women. And I think that pretty much covers it. That was
the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
And since I mentioned it earlier, I forgot to mention it there. Justin Verlander became a free agent. He turned down his $25 million option for next year because, well, I mean, who can play for $25 million?
Hey, he's going to make more. He'll
Yeah.
probably get 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Maybe even an option for a third. Yeah. He's 39. He's going to win his, third Cy Young?
Mm-hmm.
So 3 Cy Youngs, 3 no-hitters. Finally gets the World Series, bugaboo off. I mean, 240 wins, something like that? 244? So I think in that neighborhood.
He'll look good in Dodger blue.
Honey, where do you want to live?
L.A. or New York?
Or Houston? We'll just get more money out of him. Kate, what do you want? I'm going out for Chinese. When I come back, we'll decide. Miller and Moulton.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
DC, how are the men going to show up the women? I mean, the women win these things or finish, third. I mean, I don't know how the men can show up the women. Also, it's not that they're not as hungry. They're playing a whole new generation. The old guard has moved on. I mean, they're playing a bunch of people who haven't played at that level before. And yes, KW, how about the Golden Knights and Eichel, a little payback and all that?
Got booed.
Yeah. He's getting the last laugh. I think it may be addition by subtraction for Vegas with Leonard not playing. Now they don't have the whole Fleury, Leonard situation. They're both gone. Oh, DC, there's no doubt. I mean, if the men can do anything, they'll get a bigger audience. Nope. Can't say that I have. Got my first speeding ticket in 18 years the other day.
Really?
Yep.
How fast?
It's doing, what was I doing? 79 and a 60.
Ooh.
It was about $160. But 18 years. I hadn't had a ticket since 04.
I got in a little run back then, like when I remember I got a ticket the night John's dad died. Or John's dad's funeral. On the way to John's dad's wake, I got a ticket that night.
Gotcha.
And it was a run that I got 3 tickets in a short period of time, so much so that I got the letter. We were working here.
Right.
I got the letter that said, 1 more ticket, you can't drive a company vehicle. And I was driving like 90 every day for months after that.
Well, I remember the one time our equipment didn't work.
Shootout.
And we were racing back to make the show, and you got a ticket on the way back.
Yep. He gave me a warning. He let me off.
Okay. You want to do games here?
Sure. Either that or the the Toy Hall of Fame.
Well, if we don't do games here, then we don't do games till the 9 o'clock hour.
All right, well, let's do games. You want to do sports? Whatever.
No, we could do the.
David,
No. I'm being serious because that's a great topic. How about we do that at 38? And then if you want, we could make our picks after it, or do our picks and then finish it with the.
There you go.
Leading into Pat.
You know the NFL sucks this year, right?
Wow, it is not good.
I mean, all right. Seattle, Tampa. Okay. Denver, Tennessee. Cleveland, Miami. The Saints and Pittsburgh. The Lions and Bears. Now, Vikings and Bills. I know no Allen. That's still interesting. Texans and Giants.
We're coming back.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? A couple minutes after the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Happy Veterans Day as we honor those who are and have served. Thank you so very, very much. Lee Sterling will make his picks in about 20 minutes' time. Pat Kirwan, 1 hour from now, will go through the issues in the NFL and the games with Pat. Chris Landry in a little more than 90 minutes. Decent college slate, which would be awesome in 2 to 4 years when we have a 12-team playoff. For all of those last week, Mark, that were lamenting, oh, man, in 4 years, this Georgia-Tennessee game's not going to be a big deal. Oh, it won't be as big a deal.
But the other side of this is what this week would be. First off, UCF and Tulane would be a monster game.
Well, yeah.
A monster game, because that's the team that's probably getting in. The winner of that game's got a real shot to get into a 12-team playoff.
Right, because it looks like the winner of the AC is going to be one of the 6 best conference champions, so that therefore UCF and Tulane, big deal. By the way, both ranked, playing in Tulane. First time Tulane, while ranked, is hosting a ranked team since 1949. They've tried to end this football program like 4 different times since then. And here they are, host 17th in the country. Oh, by the way, hosting UCF. Big game for the Gus and the Knights. But yeah, Mark, I mean, there's others, though. I mean, there's an ACC game, which would basically be probably an elimination game. If you have any chance of making the playoff, you'd have to win this game because this game would get you in the conference championship game. Same with the Big 12 game.
The Texas TCU game.
Well, but also K-State and
right.
Is it Baylor? That's probably winner makes the Big 12 title game, losers out. Oh, okay. So that's an elimination game. Alabama, Ole Miss. Hey, I know Alabama's got 2 losses. Alabama wins out. They sneak into the playoff? Probably. Ole Miss. Hell, Ole Miss can still win the West, which means they can still win the SEC, which means they can, get a bye if they win out? I mean, think about what would be on the line 2 to 4 years from now when we go to a 12-team playoff. These November games would be pretty damn sexy.
And I think just other games, Oregon and Washington, where Oregon's still much alive in the playoff. But now if you're Washington, what does that win? Does that give you a shot to get to a Pac-12 championship game? And where do you go from there? I think it just adds more weight every week. And we uncovered this, David, 10 years ago when they were on ESPN, college football where every game matters. And I remember we were in late October in which we just did a show and said how much horseplank that was.
Right.
That there are 3 games that matter the rest of the year, and we pointed them out to you.
And we were right. And that's not that often. That's why we remember it so. You want to do this NFL thing? And by the way, speaking of not sexy, how about the National Football League? Man, I mean, we're obsessed by this league, but
it sucks.
Wow, it's not as good this year.
NFL league as we've had to. I'm sorry. Just okay. Here we go, everybody. Let's get excited. Seattle at Tampa Bay.
Well, it's in Germany. That's probably the part of this game that interests me. That's probably the second most interesting thing about this game.
So does that mean you have to make my bunk?
Well, if we were in Italy, okay, you'd have to make mine.
There you go. So in Seattle at Tampa Seattle and Tampa in Germany is one of the better games on the slate this week.
Well, Mark, it's 2 first-place teams.
Right.
Tampa somehow a 2.5-point favorite. I just would love to know how. They've lost 5 of 7, and Seattle's won 4 in a row. But one team has Tom Brady and the other team has Geno Smith, which is funny because one of those 2 quarterbacks would actually be a finalist for MVP, and the other one would not.
And the other one's Tom Brady.
Right. Cleveland at Miami. I mean, could be an interesting game. The Browns usually find ways to lose these games this year, and they've lost too many. It's tough for them to have many meaningful games once Deshaun Watson comes back into play. But Dolphins have won 3 in a row. Browns coming off their bye, right? So let's do this. Texans and the Giants. Can somebody explain to me why the Giants are only a 4.5-point favorite? If you think that's right, then no offense, I've been right. Okay, for all of you who have mocked me, you don't think your Giants are a good team. No, I really don't. Well, Houston's the worst damn team in the league. And the Giants are home, and they're only a 4.5-point favorite. They're 6-2. They're home. They're only a 4.5-point favorite. If you think that's right, then I've been right all along.
They're looking for a 22-18 final in that one, by the way. 41's your over-under.
Well, I got to admit, 22 for the Giants is a big number. But anyway, Vikings-Bills would have been a lot sexier, but Josh Allen's probably not playing. I mean, here's how you know he's not playing. The line at the beginning of the week was 7. it's 3.5.
That's a tell.
Right. Vegas knows more than we do.
The Raiders are a 4.5-point favorite over Jeff Saturday's Colts. And what did you say in the starting five about the Raiders? Waller and Renfro are both out.
They're on the injured reserve. They're out for the next 4 weeks.
Right.
And their leading tackler from last week was so proud of his effort, he retired. Blake Martinez. Listen, this is how the Colts have the better record. I mean, they're a game and a half better than the Raiders. The Raiders are 2-6. They've blown 3 leads of 17 points or more this year. They had blown 5 in their history before this year. And yet they're a 4.5-point favorite over the Colts, which shows you just what we think of the Colts.
Well, we don't think that much of the Cowboys either because Aaron Rodgers can't beat anyone, and they're only a 4.5-point favorite over Green Bay. I know it's in Green Bay.
Yeah, the line's going down.
Right. It started at 5.
Green Bay. Right.
Right.
The Rams are 3-5. Stafford may not play. Cooper Kupp is not 100%. They're favored at home over 3-6 Arizona. Did you catch, by the way, Murray and D-Hop, who were mic'd, some of the sideline byplay between the two and what have you? That is not a happy place right now, Arizona. That screams we need to be blown up. They need a slump buster, Mark, in the worst way. Hey, Saints and Steelers.
2 great fan bases.
Yeah. Yep. Uh-huh.
We'll just stop right there because there's nothing else I can say positive about either team right now.
Combined, they're 5-12. Right. Mm-hmm.
Another game with an over-under line of 40. Just let me get, and this is where we're talking about here. Do you know what the over-under line is in the Broncos-Titans game?
Well, we still don't know if Tannehill's going to play.
It's 37.5.
Wow, that is low.
37.5. Steelers and Saints are 40. We already talked about 41 for Texans and Giants. 41 for Colts and Raiders.
Okay, I'm going to say something. And don't fire me. Okay, you cannot get another co-host after what I'm about to say.
I don't think I have that authority.
Well, sure you do. Your name's first on the show. You can put anybody next. I mean, it's Miller and, so what? You change the logo and what have you. It's really easy for you to get another co-host. It's Miller and. You can find an and. For me, we got to rename the show. But, Mark, is it possible, not the best game of the day, well, the most entertaining game Sunday afternoon could be entertaining?
Oh, I know where he's going. I know where you're going.
Detroit at Chicago. I mean, seriously, like the Saints and the Steelers combined are 5-12. The Lions and Bears are combined 5-12. Which game would you rather watch? Saints at Steelers, Lions at Bears.
Oh, my.
I mean, the Bears have scored 90 points their last 3 games.
And Fields has been entertaining. And
Yes.
the Lions' defense is atrocious.
Yes, and the Lions move the ball up and down the field, and obviously the Bears' defense isn't that good because they've scored 90 points in the last 3 games, and they've lost 2 of them. So, I mean, the game could be entertaining, right?
Yes.
I will say this. The Sunday night game should be good. Chargers at Niners. Chargers are really banged up, though, and the Niners are coming off a bye.
Niners are a touchdown favorite in that game.
A full touchdown favorite, yeah. Mm-hmm. But now, listen, the late afternoon game is going to be Cowboys at Packers. I mean, you know that's the case. And it's going to do a big number. Packers have lost 5 in a row. How funny is this? Go back to 2 months ago. Mike McCarthy was the coach most likely to be fired during the season. And it's the Packers who are 3-6 hosting Dallas.
I do think your call on Kingsbury could be on to something if they lose this week, particularly with no Matt Stafford.
Now, I don't think Stafford's playing, personally. I mean, they put you in the concussion protocol midweek. Tough to get out of it in that short a period of time.
Of course, they don't even know if he has a concussion, and yet they put him in the concussion protocol. That is 2022 NFL.
Right. Which is, we're not going to tell you the truth at all. You have no chance of getting the truth out of us.
We will get the truth out of Lee Sterling. He is next to make his picks, and then we will make ours. Pat Kirwan coming up at 8 o'clock right here on Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. You know, RCB and KW, I'm torn here because I like when Dallas loses as well, but I am really enjoying the Green Bay Packer grease fire. Because Packer fans, you know who Packer fans are? And if you're a Packer fan, I apologize. But Seth has attacked Cardinal fan on this show for a long time. They're the nicest fans in the world. And Seth's always called BS on that. That's the Packers fan. The Packer fan gets this pass that they're this wonderful human being. And they're not. They're an arrogant fan base. And RCB, you're right there. Dallas is as well. But everyone thinks that, and somehow Green Bay gets a pass. I know the Vikings fans in here are with me. And Ryan, this is where I want just to drive Pat nuts. I want Indianapolis to go on like a 4 or 5 game win streak right now. Nothing would make me happier than to see the Indianapolis Colts win 5 games in a row.
Ryan, I will say for the record, I was not one of those talking heads swooning on the Colts at all.
I don't know if I was swooning. I picked him.
Right. And he
It's
was
just an anti-Tennessee sentiment.
Right. It's his anti-RT17.
It is. I just endeared myself to all the Bears and Vikings fans with that one, David.
I heard the start of it, and I was thinking, is he going to go St. Louis Cardinals here? And when you said Cardinals, I said, okay, I got it. By the way, I'm going to experience winter this weekend. Like the high in Oxford is going to be like 48. Low in the 20s. I know. And then in Philadelphia, similar weather.
You know, you're going to have a little – Jacksonville's a different animal. You get colder weather there regularly.
Yeah, I know. But it's 72 right now. I mean, but I'm talking about, you know, it is the second week of November. But, you know, when your lows are 29 and your high is like 47.
Do you even have clothes for that?
I don't have shirts. I don't think I own, outside of dress shirts, I don't own a long sleeve shirt. I had one. I got rid of it.
That's where you need to go find like a blue mock neck. Blue or a black mock neck that you can throw something over. You know what I mean? It's.
So, but I have a nice jacket. I have a nice heavy from the waist up jacket.
Good morning, Lee.
Morning. Just taped a segment with Jeff Cameron. He had to leave early today, so
our buddy.
Oh, he's happy. He's happy. His Knowles.
Oh yeah.
So, go to my website. You got to see my main video. I decided to have some fun. You know, usually we have the Miami drop back behind me.
Right.
You see it?
All the helmets.
No. Go to ParamountSports.com.
Run back, guys.
See the weather?
No.
No.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Happy Veterans Day. And a reminder, national holiday, so, you know, certain things will be closed. Won't get mail today, banks, that sort of deal. It is time for Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports, ParamountSports.com, 800-400-9741. You can follow him on Twitter at Paramount Sports. Another winning week for Lee and his clients.
Yep.
Not the picks on our show. All right, some bad beats for Lee. And his college game of the year, Air Force went up and down the field on Army and didn't score. He lost his college football game of the year by 0.5 point. Oh, boy.
Painful. I mean, get to the 1 yard line, 8 minutes to go, and can't put it in.
Yeah, I'm here. You, Lee, I had the over last night.
Yeah.
All right. They missed 3 extra points.
I saw.
Okay. 41.5 over under. The total ends up being 40. They missed 3 extra points.
Yeah. I feel your pain. I almost put out the under, and I'm like, oh, it could never happen to me. If I would have put out the under, never happens. But still, I mean, what's crazy is I lose that Air Force game, and, I mean, people who saw it for what it was, probably the right side, but we lost. Since that first game Saturday, I haven't lost a game. Won every other game Saturday. win everyone Sunday, win Ohio Tuesday, win Memphis last night. Would I love to have that game back? Yeah, but I'd rather be 9-1-2 instead of 2-7 or 2-9. So,
and what's it put you 54-19 now or something like that with these bets? It's a pretty good number. And 3-1 this year, which we've talked about. You've given us 4 bets that have been your 40 unit or high plays, your football game of the year, your college football game of the year, 2 other big plays. He's 3-1 in those plays. We'll take 75% all day long, Lee.
Yeah. And in his game of the week so far this year on our show, he's 6-4 in his game of the week. We will get to that in a bit. Let's start. Gators, their final home SEC game of the year anyway, and the line's been going up, Lee, off their pretty good second-half performance at A&M. Florida's now an 8-point favorite at home against the Gamecocks.
The Gamecocks generally are a better underdog team, and normally you don't lay points with Florida. I think Florida's coming around, and I think they're one of these teams that can't beat the good teams, but they can beat the teams and they're better than. And maybe the only case where they're probably similar teams was maybe Kentucky. They, I think, will use the pass here, believe it or not, to set up the run in this game. I think they can throw on South Carolina. Once they do that, then I think South Carolina's sunk. South Carolina, Rattler is just not a guy. We've seen him now. Another 5-star rated guy that just can't get it done here. We'll take Florida. We'll lay the points here. I have them winning this game 31-13.
Florida State and Syracuse is an interesting game to me because Syracuse is a team that I don't know if they've gotten worse, but they kind of peaked and they've been getting banged up. Their depth is an issue. Florida State, who had all kinds of depth problems a year ago, seems to be getting stronger as the year's going on, Lee.
Yeah, and they played their best game against Miami, dominated Miami. A problem with Syracuse is, and Schrader may not play in this game, the quarterback. When he doesn't play, they're a different team, not even close to where they were 3-4 games ago. So that's one major problem there. And even if he plays, he's not 100%. And on top of that, you mentioned depth and then also big plays. They can't come up with big plays. When you have to go down the field in 12, 14, 15, 16 plays, you can't have things go wrong. You can't have penalties. And all these things combined, quarterback play, depth, penalties, can't get big plays. It adds up here. FSU is just at a different level right now than Syracuse, even on the road. I think they'll win this game here, 37-20.
All right, to Sunday, where you've got 3 plays this week. Bills-Vikings, obviously, you got the Josh Allen situation. We are assuming, rightly or wrongly, he's not playing because the line's gone from 7 all the way down now to 3.5. Buffalo at home needing to win. You know, the East is in play. The 1 seed's in play. Buffalo 3.5-point favorite on the Vikes.
Okay, and let's look at other than the quarterback and running back position. I think Buffalo's better almost every other position. Now they might get back their star cornerback, White. And if he comes back, he can maybe neutralize Jefferson a little bit. Minnesota's just been winning close games. And the one time they had to go on the road, play a quality team, Philadelphia, they got beat 24-6. Game wasn't close. So I just can't trust Kirk Cousins on the road. I thought he was given a gift last week when Washington threw that interception, their own zone, late in the game. So give them credit. They won the game, but against this level of team, even with a backup quarterback, I think Buffalo's the right side here, 24-16.
I'm very curious about what you think about the game in Germany because one quarterback's Tom Brady. The other quarterback is an MVP candidate in Geno Smith. We would have never thought that, yet Tampa's a 2.5-point favorite in this game.
Crazy. But the one thing really impressed me about Geno Smith, and I saw him even going back to high school when he played at Miramar High School. Good friend of mine. I had never heard about him. He's like, I want you to come out and see a game. I'm refereeing a game. I think there's a quarterback you might want to look at. He ended up going to West Virginia, was the only school really interested in him, big school. But he throws the pick 6. What does he do right after that? Comes right back in 4 or 5 plays, right down the field, they score. I think he's got his team's respect. That running game with Kenneth Walker is really good. And they're not traveling. I don't know if people realize this. They're only traveling 300 and something miles more than Tampa, believe it or not, to Germany. So I had someone work it out here in my office. It's 4,400 miles for Tampa, 4,700 miles for Seattle. So it's not like they're traveling an extra 4 or 5 hours in the plane. I like Seattle. Seattle wins this game and covers 24-20.
Seattle getting 2.5, even though they've won 4 in a row. All right, press for time. Dolphins, line's a little smaller than I think. They've won 3 in a row, but they're only a 3.5-point favorite against Cleveland.
Jacoby Brissett wasn't impressed when he was here at Miami. This defense and defensive coordinator know him well. That's the one thing that didn't change. So he's just not real mobile. And Cleveland finds ways to lose games here. Miami's finding a way to win games, whether it's special teams or a big play. Give me Miami here, 30-20.
Game of the week, Georgia Tech and the Canes. Lee, how do they get it?
800-400-9741. If you can stomach watching 60 minutes of that. 800-400-9741. We'll give it to you for free. Blue plate special for the week. And we won 11 out of 13 weeks. You don't have to sign up for the season. How about this? Or even the month. You want to get the November special through the end of November every day, 3 weeks, just $197. You can get Saturday, 7 selections, $77, or Sunday, 5 selections, $55. And we've not had a losing Sunday yet this year. 7 for $77, 5 for $55. It's immediate download, so you got the games. You don't have to call back Saturday or Sunday morning. One place, ParamountSports.com.
800-400-9741, ParamountSports.com. Also follow Lee on Twitter at Paramount Sports. Lee, all the best. Take care.
Okay. See you guys.
He's laying a lot of points this week. He's laying the 8 with the Gators, the 7 with the Knowles, the 3.5 with the Bills, and the 3.5 with the Dolphins. He is taking the 2.5 with the Seahawks. His game of the week. This is fascinating. Come on, Lee loves his Canes. Okay, and he's got the Canes in his game of the week.
I love it. What a bad football game. This is something that handicappers do. They're putting their good money on 2 bad football teams. Curious to see what side Lee is on with Georgia Tech and Miami.
Really good news for the Gators in recruiting overnight. We will bring it to you on the other side, and we'll make some picks. And we also, going to have some fun and games. Right, Mark?
That's what we're about, fun and games. And we'll pick some games as well. Miller and Moulton, Pat Kirwan, 30 minutes away. Chris Landry, a little over an hour away to break down everything that is college football this week on Miller and Moulton, right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
You had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. What was Lee last week?
1-3-1. He's exactly 500 on the year on our picks. 6-4 in his game of the week, and exactly 500 on his 5 picks on our show.
And what were you last week?
3-3-1. We all pushed the Tampa Bay Rams game.
Yep. No. I know. I didn't remember what your and Lee's were. And Klecko, I think it'll go over. Yes, they have, PFM. It'll be interesting to see what this week is because you got to figure a lot of older guys aren't. This will be a young roster playing against Georgia Tech. That's pretty funny. The transfer portal flew. That's pretty good. It's a good line. Oh, and there will be a mass exodus from Coral Gables.
I think the over-under is 30.5.
How about Jake Matthews last night?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
That is. And
all right, honey, alrighty, honey, good job. I'm going to go play football now. I'll see you later.
How about the owner making that happen, though? The owner sent his private plane, picked him up, flew him to his child's birth, waited. He dropped back on the private plane. Now, I know it's only Atlanta to Charlotte, but still.
I think he's a really good owner. I really do. So I've been putting things in Today Was the Day When that I'm going to just talk about during the breaks because they're not really good enough. But what was it? Is it okay? So this one, this is what's interesting to me. Do you know that today the Columbus Blue Jackets were like they announced that their team names was the Blue Jackets? They've been playing since 2000. That's been a bad franchise.
Won one playoff series, right?
Right.
Beat the Lightning.
30.
That's just crazy to me. Kind of like we were going through the Charlotte and the T-Wolves and Orlando and Miami. It's just.
And yet Beautiful arena. I love the downtown Columbus setup.
Sounds like it's-
AAA Stadium, the Blue Jackets arena.
Here we go.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Top of the hour is Pat Kirwan. We'll go through the NFL games. It just does not jump out to us as this is a sexy NFL weekend. May have a bunch of close games again. I mean,
We always do.
but not necessarily good football and not exciting football, but a bunch of 4-point and under spreads. I'll tell you that. We'll go through the games with Pat Kirwan coming up at the top of the hour. We mentioned this right before we went to break. And Miller and Moulton, listen, we've got strengths, we've got weaknesses. One of the things that we try really hard to do is not be something that we're not. We're not recruiting guys. Okay, we get Bud Elliott and others who are recruiting people. They tell us who's doing what and how they're doing, etc. But the both of us saw this when we woke up this morning. It's being widely reported that Billy Napier and the Gators flipped a 4/5-star quarterback commit for the Canes to Florida. Jaden Rashada is the kid's name. He's from Pittsburgh, California. And he's apparently going to be in Gainesville. In fact, he's in Gainesville now or going to get to Gainesville tonight, and he's going to be on the sidelines for when they play South Carolina. And apparently he said to Mario, sorry, buddy, I saw that Florida State game. I can't do it. Can't do it. So Billy Napier, getting it done to some degree on the recruiting trail. And Mark, one of the issues for the Gators is, there's been talk that Richardson's going pro, which I think would be a big mistake.
I do too. But regardless of what happens there, he flipped a Florida State player earlier in the week. 2 big flips.
Yeah.
Coming to Gainesville. And for those that are, and that's the start. I mean, this is the war that goes on for recruiting. Florida has their NIL intact. They know what they're doing.
Yep. Listen, I'm not trying to spin this positively, but the one thing, and Bud Elliott was the first one to make us aware of this, how many of the 4 and 5 stars that the big 3 were not getting. How many times, Mark, has Florida State, Miami, and Florida lost a 4 or 5-star recruit to an out-of-state school? And I may be spinning this in an overly positive way. I'd love for Florida State, Florida, and Miami to be flipping amongst each other. At least the talent's staying here and not going to Athens and Tuscaloosa and Columbus. So if we're going to start flipping a bunch of guys, let's keep it in-house, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
So a good week so far for the Gators, starting with the second half against A&M, and it's carried right on through.
So something happened yesterday after the show, David. You had mentioned me firing you earlier in this show.
Right.
I was fired after the show yesterday.
Excuse me?
My daughter fired me.
Wait, she can't.
Not as a father.
Oh.
But she did not like being here yet. She likes the fact that she gets to come here and play on her tablet for 2 hours and be left alone. But she did not like me talking to her, me trying to get her on the air, me trying to get her to come during the commercial breaks onto the Twitch audience, and more importantly than anything, trying to get her to pick games. She finally looked at me in the car and said, Dad, I don't know who these teams are. It's your job. Why don't you pick the games?
Well, she's got a dadgum good point.
So she fired me.
So so she's officially done.
She's done.
So she did 4 weeks. She was right around 500. Far better than her dad.
Yeah, 2 good weeks, 2 bad weeks, and just said, enough of this, Dad.
And
I've got better things to do.
Staggeringly better than her dad's co-host. Right. Okay.
So take these picks however you want.
Wow, they're yours, huh? Well, Heck, so these are Miller and Moulton's picks. So everybody definitely has to go the other way then.
You've been mentioning Tulane and how long it's been since they've had, they don't play in games like this. It's been since 1940 since two ranked teams play there, whatever the hell it is.
49 last time Tulane was ranked and they hosted a ranked team.
Believe it or not, I think this all bodes well for UCF. They've actually played in big games a lot over the past 5 years. This is not a big deal to them the way it will be to Tulane. I like the underdog. Give me UCF plus the 1.5. I think they go on the road and win. I'm taking Texas, and I'm laying the 7 points.
Whoa. TCU's undefeated. I figured you'd take the 7.
Vegas is telling us what they think of TCU here.
All right.
So I'm taking Texas. I'm laying the points. Arkansas's quarterback's just not been right, and they need him to be able to do a lot to win. So I like LSU. I know they had their big game last week. It's a small number. I'm going to lay the 3.5 as LSU begins their march to Atlanta.
Well, if LSU beats Arkansas and Alabama beats Ole Miss, and they're a damn near 2-touchdown favorite, LSU will have won the West. I mean, that's it. It's over. Because LSU has beaten both Alabama and Ole Miss. There'll be a game ahead of them. They only have one conference game left.
Like Brian Kelly said after they beat Ole Miss, October is for pretenders. November is for contenders. David, it's about time that you admit that your New York Giants are a good football team. I don't know if you really have to admit that. They're playing Houston after all. But why is this line only 4.5? Give me the G-men and lay the 4.5 against the Texans. And who's playing better quarterback right now? The guy in Seattle or the guy in Tampa?
That'd be the guy in Seattle.
And I'm getting 2.5. Which offensive line's better? The offensive line in Seattle or the offensive line in Tampa?
The one in Seattle, and it has 2 rookie tackles.
And their running back's playing better than the running back in Tampa. The receivers for Tampa are all banged up.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Seattle plus 2.5.
Well, you have 5 picks, and we agree on 3 of them. So,
oh boy, it's either going to be a great week or you run. I would recommend that you run to your bookie after the show, right after this segment, before the lines start fluctuating, because Miller and Moulton are doubling down on 3 teams.
Well, at least these 3 go the other way. We both like UCF at Tulane. I believe UCF's quarterback's going to play, and that's the difference. We both like the Giants laying only 4.5 against the worst team in the league, the Texans, and here's why. Not because it's 6-2 against 1 but the Texans have the worst or second worst run defense in the league. Well, it's the only thing the Giants can do is run the ball. And coming off a bye week, heavy dose of Saquon Barkley, probably over 150 total yards for Saquon. And the Giants' defense, which is kind of piecemeal, well, they're facing Davis Mills and the Texans. And we both like the Seahawks getting the 2.5 against the Bucs, because if you took the helmets away and you took Tom Brady's stardom away and you objectively looked at this game and checked boxes, you would check almost all the boxes for Seattle. They're just playing better. They've won 4 in a row. I mean, think of the 2 games the Bucs have won out of their last 7. The Atlanta game at home, they got the gift call late, all right, and the Rams, who stopped playing defense with a minute to go in the game last week. Those are their 2 wins in their last 7 games. All right, the other games. I can't believe Ole Miss is getting 12 at home against Alabama. I'm sorry. This is not a special Alabama team on defense. It's not. 31's been MIA all year, Anderson. If you judged him only on this year, he would not be a first-round pick at all.
He was supposed to be in New York for the Heisman. And when the season started, there was talk of Anderson being in New York for the Heisman. You haven't heard that all year. That's how badly that defense has played, and he's their leader.
Listen, Ole Miss's defense is not good. This is going to be a high-scoring game, but it's 12, and I could see them late grunter to cover this. Give me the 12. How can you bet on the Canes after not just last week's performance, but it's mid-November? They have not covered a game this year against a Division I team. That's remarkable. So I'm going to take the Georgia Tech at home, laying the 1.5. I have no idea which side Lee is on in his game of the week. I'm taking Georgia Tech and laying the 1.5 against the Canes. And I am doing something I should not be doing. And I got burned by this earlier in the year when Nebraska made the coaching change. And I took Nebraska in the points because I thought they'd be a big effort. Give me South Florida at home against SMU.
What did you say? Do you
I
realize
know.
that you've just picked Georgia Tech
Yep.
in USF back-to-back?
17.5. South Florida at home. That's what they're getting. All right. Big resounding effort with the new coach. And Ohio State is averaging 52 points a game at home in their Big Ten games. Indiana's lost 6 in a row. The line's 40, and I'm laying it. 62-14. Ohio State over Indiana. And Mark, the Tennessee Titans are playing this week. So guess what I'm doing?
Betting on them.
I'm betting on the Tennessee Titans. Thank you very much. Tannehill's going to play this week. He was a game-time decision last week. They held him out. A week later, he'll be able to play. And all they have to do is beat Denver by 3. Give me the Titans at home laying 3. So that's an Elite 8, ladies and gentlemen, for the record.
Yep.
5 college, 3 pro. And Miller and Moulton agree on 3 picks. So the 3 games you want to go the other way. We're taking UCF and the 1.5, so you'll want to take Tulane. We are taking the Giants and laying the 4.5, so that means you are stuck taking the Houston Texans. I know. And we are riding Geno Smith and the points against the Bucs. You're taking Tom Brady at 9:30 a.m. on Sunday. So what do you say? Huh? There you go. I'm only 12 games below 500 for the year. No big deal or anything.
It's not for a lack of picking games.
Correct.
You make
Correct.
sure you get your chances to get back towards 500 every single week.
Figure
Don't limit this guy with 5 picks, 6
No.
picks, 7 picks.
I figure 3 6-2 weeks in a row. I'm right there. Miller and Moulton. Mark, it's all fun and games, right?
It is. It is. And one of my favorite halls of fame, David, is the Toy Hall of Fame.
In fact, it might be your only favorite Hall of Fame.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
You mocked the hell out of that.
I still want to go.
Okay.
But the Toy Hall of Fame had its new inductees. And I give these guys credit because they don't put in 6, 7, 8 every year. 3 toys get in this year. The top. How the top hasn't been in already. Man, that's a thing been around. It's one of the oldest toys that's ever been there.
I mean, Elvis played with it, for goodness sakes.
Right. They say there's more than 5,000 years of history behind the top, probably shunned in many other classes, but the top gets in. Masters of the Universe dolls get in, and Light Bright, which is another one I'm just shocked that Light Bright wasn't already in.
Agreed. What's not in, though, that should be in?
The other finalists,
Okay.
I don't have much use for. Well, the piñata. How is the piñata not in the Toy Hall of Fame?
Is it not a toy?
It was a finalist, and it was one of the 12 finalists. Bingo was one of the 12 finalists. How is bingo? I mean,
seriously?
Well, the piñata is more of a decoration.
Yeah, I could see the piñata not getting in, but Mark, I would think bingo would have been like, first class.
but Nerf is not in the Hall of Fame.
That's ridiculous.
And
Maybe next class.
And this is your favorite Hall of Fame, huh? They don't even have Nerf in the game Hall of Fame. This is your favorite? And I thought the baseball writers sucked. Okay, seriously? Bingo and Nerf, not in the Game Hall of Fame.
Next year's class. Don't worry.
Nerf is a big shun. I think there are problems. I think one of the voters was hit by too many Nerf guns in his life and is holding a grudge.
In fact, may still have a wound that's visible. Now, that's a Hall of Fame you would sign up to be on.
Just want to play in it. I just want to go so I can play with all the toys. I'd be there for days. It's in Rochester, New York. I don't know what else you do in Rochester, New York than go to the Toy Hall of Fame.
Not much. You make a left, you go to Buffalo. That's about it.
Miller and Moulton. We will talk all things NFL next with Pat Kirwan. He joins us right here. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, and the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Hello, Pat.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Always good. Finally, that rain's gone.
Yep.
That was I think we're trying to open the course today. I don't have time to play, but I have a lot of guys I play with. They're all excited. They're going to go out there. And
I was amazed how cleaned up your neighborhood looked when I dropped off the tickets, Pat.
all I can tell you is that those FEMA trucks are here around the clock.
Right.
And so they're pretty diligent. I think the people, and the guys I know that kind of run our building and stuff, they're on top of it. They don't stop.
Yep. Hey,
God
David,
bless
what was the line on the Georgia Tech? They're getting 1.5?
No, Georgia Tech is a 1.5 point favorite.
Okay. The only one I didn't have written down correctly. All right. Thank you.
Hello, David.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
I'm good.
How's your week?
You know what? I just never got out of the football end of this thing and then it rained. Usually by Thursday is a day that I can kind of do what I want, but it's not working out that way. And then the rain kind of made me do some stuff. We're still in the middle of getting one car got totaled, but the other car had a bunch of damage that had to be fixed, and Janet's running around with that all the time. And then I'm going to pick her up. Once she drops that other car off, she can't walk home in the rain.
That is true.
She must have gone back to that dealership 3 times yesterday. So that kind of just that stuff. And
That was supposed to be mine yesterday, Pat, and I didn't get a chance to do it because they canceled school because of the hurricanes. My truck got dented up from palm fronds. I was supposed to get it looked at.
Yeah. So you know where I went last night after I got done having dinner with Janet? I ran over to that place, Rusty's, and watched the game.
Okay.
Huh.
Nobody. It was mobbed. I sat by myself and had a notebook in front of me. I'm sure people thought I was fucked up. But it was a classic Thursday night football game.
Yeah, awful.
Yes, bad football.
Did I have to stay here and watch this? I'll have another Guinness.
I watched the Wings and Rangers.
Oh.
And then the third period was awful, so I switched to the football game.
Hey, you didn't miss much.
Nope.
I have Arthur Smith at 2:15 today. Guys, any thoughts on what I should ask him? Who's the quarterback?
Well, I was going to say, how much thought did you give to putting Ritter in?
Yeah.
Because he hasn't done it yet this year, has he?
No, and he's not. He said he was kind of sarcastic last night at the press conference about it. He goes, that's an easy question to ask. No answer.
15 seconds.
Well, I mean, we're not saying benching Mariota for the rest of the year, but sometimes the team needs a spark.
Here we go, guys.
You love those rookie quarterbacks. They're like Bic lighters out of fluid. No spark.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it is the third and final hour of Miller and Moulton in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. We're halfway home for those of you in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Happy Veterans Day and a huge thanks. And I know it's not enough, but a huge thanks to those that are and have served. Pat Kirwan is kind enough to join us once again at this time on a Football Friday. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains and CBS's NFL Today show. And Pat joining us courtesy of Pinchers. Tampa to Key West, over a dozen locations in between, battered and bruised in some locations, but Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. How are you, Pat?
I'm doing fine. Happy Veterans Day. One of my good friends from when I'm up north is 101, and he gave the speech for Veterans Day at the memorial yesterday, and they sent me the video of it. And he's still funny, and he was an old judge, Eugene. So it was really nice to see him and made me really think through on Veterans Day how important it is. So onward to football last night. It's over. Thank you.
Pat, just look at this year on the whole. This is the NFL, it's the biggest league. It gets all the attention. It gets the ratings. Is the play down considerably this year in your estimation? The quality of play?
Fans not for me personally, but I understand why people would perceive it that way. I like tight, games with a lot of running, and I just enjoy watching blocking schemes. But most people just want to see deep bombs and scoring and throwing. And I think a lot of guys have figured out, which we talked about 10 years ago on this show. You keep building these small defenses, guys are going to start running the ball. Foreman runs 31 times last night. And there's a lot of that going on around this league. And that's why games are close. And that's why scoring is off a bit. So I like it. Bill Cowher calls it the perfect game. His idea of a perfect game is 7-6, Mark. I don't know. Enjoy something like that. Of course, he likes the 7, not the 6.
We know you talk to the Falcons head coach every week and don't know when you're going to talk to him again.
Today.
But okay, well, that's interesting. I was thinking this Monday night when the Saints were struggling, like, hey, are you sure it's not worth throwing Jameis in with 10 minutes to go, down 3 scores? I mean, Pat, it seems as if the quarterback is treated far differently than like the ace pitcher in baseball, who sometimes just doesn't have it. And the manager has to go out there in the 4th inning and say, you don't have it today, buddy. Don't worry about it. Get him next time. I guess now, granted, we've also talked about the lack of quality backups and all that. But, Pat, there's a part of me that's like, are you sure that just bringing in a quarterback even for a series, and just like Desmond Ridder last night when they were down 2 touchdowns, I'm thinking, how much damage could be done here to Ridder or the team in this game if you put Ridder in here with 12 minutes to go?
It's a fair question, but the baseball analogy doesn't work because there's a staff and everyone knows they're going to get – no one's going 9 innings anymore, so there's a different mindset. There's not one starting quarterback in the league who thinks I'm not going the whole game. That doesn't make it right. The guy you had to love then is Bill Parcells, because Bill Parcells would do that. And he did it at the Jets. Foley plays great, throws for 400. In the middle of the next game, he benches him and puts in Testaverde. So, and I asked him once about it. He said, I just don't see the quarterback as any different than another player on the team. But you think about football, you really don't have enough practice time all week to get that spark plug ready to go. I guarantee Ritter's not getting any reps. He's running the scout team. And so if you had an unusual athletic type guy and you're a pocket passer, which isn't Mariota, but if you had one of those guys who you couldn't block anybody, maybe you go then and try to do something. But I think you know why they don't do it. You get 3 practices a week. You get about an hour and a half, and you give all the reps to the starters. And it's funny, even like guys like Brady, Peyton Manning, he was famous for not letting any of the backups get a rep. They don't get enough reps to share them. And consequently, I don't think those guys are ready. But now the question is a deeper one, because if the math says you're not going to make the playoffs, then you're going to see guys start doing those kind of things. I thought the weirdest one was Carolina giving the job back to Walker. I mean, he was 3 for 10 last week. 2 interceptions. He looked terrible. And Baker came off the bench and threw 2 touchdowns, but they went right back to Walker. So it's kind of, the NFL's strange in that sense. Baseball analogy doesn't work. I don't know. Did they in basketball take out the point guard who misses 4 shots?
Sometimes.
Well,
yeah.
But to your point, Pat, I guess the fact of the matter is there's just really no way to get another quarterback ready, and coaches don't trust someone that doesn't take reps. I mean, the way you were talking, hey, there's no way Ritter's getting reps. There's no way this guy's getting reps. Well, is there any way to avoid that? Is there any way to get these guys reps?
Nope. There's just not enough time. And the union and the way the CBA is, you really can't spend a lot of extra time. And football needs, guess this, you know what it needs. It needs 21 other players, a full complement on defense, and 10 other offensive guys for the guy to understand. But there are so many checks. There are so many things, check with me runs, check with me run pass. And so do I think they should do some more of it? Yeah, I do. But they don't. And I don't think they will. But I do think you're going to see another guy or two get an opportunity. This week, though, Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, and Ryan Tannehill. They're all medically questionable. I don't think they're all going to miss the game, but I don't think any of them are 100%. Can Kyler Murray run with a hamstring? How is that thumb on Rodgers? I mean, Tannehill, is he really going to be able to move around? So you have a rough week here with starting quarterbacks. Now, did you give the backup the reps all week? That changes things. And I think a couple of those starters I mentioned did not take many reps, if any.
Well, I even think coming off the loss to the Jets, that most people consider, even though the Eagles are undefeated, that they would put their $20 on the Bills being the best team and the Bills winning the Super Bowl. Now let's take Josh Allen off the Bills and replace him with Case Keenum. How good do you think this team is now?
I like Case Keenum as a backup, but when you really study Case Keenum, he doesn't win very often. He doesn't play very often. He'll get a win here. Now, he got a win at the end of last season, which people say, well, even me, good day. But I went back and looked at that game yesterday. They didn't play anybody opposite him. It was the Bengals, and they pulled all the starters. So, he's really going to struggle in this. And to your point, what did the guys in the desert say? 10.5 went down to 3.5. That might go down to 1 once he confirmed Allen's not playing. So I think people that bet games are going to think this is a significant drop-off.
Well, let's get into some of the games. David and I take our picks. I'm curious what you talk to Pete Carroll every week. Seattle's playing Tampa. If this wasn't Tom Brady versus Geno Smith, I don't know how this number is what it is. I'm trying to find an area where I think Tampa's better than Seattle right now, and I'm having a hell of a time, Pat.
Yeah, I am too. I think Pete loves it this way. You guys know coaches. They love the underdog. It gives them a theme in the pregame speech that really it tunes in for the players. So I did see the Tampa run defense start to clean up again. And that would be one area where, to your question, Mark, of where's Tampa better? I don't know if they're better, but they really should be better against the run. They've got big people up front and fast linebackers, and they've got Winfield coming back. So that's the one area. But I think my friend is going to be getting after Brady as hard as he can. And I don't think he's going to have to blitz to do it. I think he's taking a good long look at those guards in center and are going to challenge them physically. So I don't know. You might see some bare front, some things that are going to be physical on them. So I like Seattle in this game. Pete, first off, when you're in Seattle, David knows this because he's a traveler. You got to learn how to travel with your football team. Some coaches can't win on the road. Some guys don't get it. Pete left on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. They took the big Lufthansa jet where everyone got a bed. The whole team had beds. They all went to sleep for 9 hours. They got to Germany, to Munich. Then they had a light walk through practice, and it was kind of peppy. He said actually he thought it'd be lethargic, and it wasn't. So his players believe they know how to travel. He likes to get to cities early. Even on Sunday games, he goes on Fridays all the time.
Dolphins clearly have a playoff offense. Defense, they got issues. Well, they're facing Cleveland. And I know Cleveland's got some issues, but boy, can Cleveland line up and run the football. Can Cleveland come into Miami coming off their bye and just run Nick Chubb all the way to a win?
Yeah, I think when you have a run football team, I mean, there's a question, you got to look back at Tennessee when they went into Kansas City. Did anyone think they were going to play that game that close? And they had the lead. And they were playing with Malik Willis. So, yes, Cleveland can go as long as they have this pounding run game. Billy Callahan's the line coach. He'll look at that front. He'll think, I can block this thing up, and let's go. And he calls a lot of the plays. He calls all the running plays. So they'll run the ball 40 times, keep it close, and see if they can put enough pressure on Tua to make a mistake late. We all know what's going to happen. It's going to be, Tua is the king of the deep ball. I'm sure you guys covered it all week. He's got almost a 60% completion on deep passes. So it'll be the deep passing game, which is quick strike, versus grind it out. I would think the game stays really close. And yes, I'd give him a chance.
You worry about him underthrowing guys at all, Tua? I mean, he's still hitting the deep ball, but he's underthrowing guys. Do you worry about that at all, Pat?
Yeah, Jim Miller made a great point. Here's our quarterback, my boss and my partner. So Jim always says when you're playing with guys with speed like Tyreek Hill, once you stick your foot in the ground on a 3, 5, or 7-step drop, you got to let the ball go. And the second you hesitate when your foot gets stuck in that ground, guys like Tyreek Hill become farther than you can reach. when your arm's like that. He'd be fine if he'd let it go right away, but he gets in trouble when he doesn't.
Dolphins have to block the Browns. Remember the Monday night game? Cleveland's defensive front overwhelmed the Bengals' offensive line and Joe Burrow. That'll be the game. If Teron Armstead can block Myles Garrett, Miami will win. If he can't, well, they're going to have issues.
Miles pretty hot right now, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show. When we come back, we'll go through the rest of the games. A lot of small spreads. There's only really 2 games that are like more than 5 points, and that's Jacksonville and Kansas City and the Chargers Sunday night in San Francisco. That's, of course, before the Monday night game. So we'll go through all these tight games on the schedule with Pat Kirwan next. Miller and Moulton, Chris Landry in 25 minutes, Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. DC, it's really simple why they don't do it. Practice time in the union. That's what Pat was just talking about. If you were listening, the why they're not getting snaps for the twos is that there are limited times that they can practice. And as Pat said, if you're going to have another practice, that means you got to get all the offensive guys and all the defensive guys, and they're just not doing that anymore. They can barely get away with it on Saturday anymore.
If you do it, they report you.
Right. There's the other part. And it's someone on your own team reporting you because they're bitching because they're practicing too much, right?
Union rep, the head coach needs to build a relationship with the union rep, and it has to be a daily conversation if you want to avoid problems. I'll tell you, there's a couple games. Minnesota Buffalo. How do you see that game?
I will say it'll be significant to me if they can get White back to maybe limit Jefferson. It is fascinating, Diggs against Jefferson, since Diggs was traded for a first-round pick, and the first-round pick turned out to be Jefferson. Also, Pat, I do think it's Keenum against the Vikings, who unceremoniously moved on from him 5 years ago for Cousins.
Want to see if they can run it with Cook, Pat.
Yeah. It's
because that seems to be the way to get him, right?
Yep, and I just don't like taking the Vikings
in a big spot.
Pat, I may be reaching here, but I have thought for a while now that the Bills have needed to tighten things up. And I wonder if the injury to Allen will finally force the team to they're going to have to run the ball without their quarterback. I actually think in the long run, this could benefit them. And I just wonder if now they'll have to use play action a little more. Okay, Knox, the tight end's a big weapon. Go to wide receivers not named Diggs. I know they're not as good, obviously. But I actually think some of the things, if they have to play 3-4 games without Allen, could benefit them.
It definitely would balance it up again and straighten out the routine here. But the question I have is how many can they win? Now, they're going to lose home field advantage. Would you agree with me on that?
Probably, yes. Like if he misses a month, I don't have their schedule in front of me, but yeah, on top of the Jets loss,
All right, they got Vikings home for the Browns, at the Lions on Thanksgiving, and then they got at the Patriots.
Well, it could hurt them at New England. I mean, considering the last 2 times the Bills with Allen played New England, they didn't punt.
And, there's Kansas City. Yeah, I know you got the head-to-head, but this extra loss here, you lose 2 of those in the next run while he's gone, you're flying to Kansas City again. And that means so am I, which I'm not excited about.
Well, and once again, they've lost 2 division games here that they should not have lost. They should be undefeated.
Yeah. And as bizarre as that is there any chance they're going to lose a division?
Probably not, because they have 4 division games left, and all 3 teams have to come to Orchard Park late in the year.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to win the East, but you're right. The big question is, are they going to win it? They beat Baltimore and they beat Kansas City, but,
they're going to have more losses than Kansas City.
And I got to admit, the Ravens team that they may face in the divisional round is going to be a very different team than they faced in Baltimore.
No, I sure would like to go to Baltimore for the championship game, because I have to go straight to Mobile right from there. I look at what are my flight availabilities when I'm in these cities. Kansas City, I don't know. Have you ever seen 5 people in that airport? No.
It's the worst major city airport in the country, and it ain't close.
15 seconds.
Okay.
That's qualifying Kansas City as a major city, but I know what you mean. I just having a little fun.
Here we go.
I know.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour on this Veterans Day. Thanks so much for being with us. Chris Landry to talk the college football scene in a little more than 15 minutes time. Our remaining moments with Pat Kirwan. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show, and he joins us Tuesdays and Fridays courtesy of Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh.
Let's get to the games, Pat. I want to dive into some of these 4:00 games off the bat. First off, is Stafford playing for the Rams, do you think? And the fact that they don't think he's playing in Vegas with a 1.5-point number and they're still favored over Arizona tells us a lot about the Cardinals, doesn't it?
And the Cardinals, I mean, I said this to Jim yesterday. Yeah, Kyler Murray entertains a lot of us running around, but it's not leading to wins. The guy is 4-10 in his last 14 starts. So I don't have, and I know Hopkins helps him, but now the Ram defense is way better than they're perceived to be. They still can play defense, and I think they still know how to play this guy. And what is their record? They own the Arizona Cardinals. And I'll go back to David's point. Maybe this is a good thing for this team. They'd have to run a different kind of offense if they don't have Stafford. And Stafford's been hurting, and Stafford has thrown too many picks for me lately.
The Rams under McVay have only lost once to the Arizona Cardinals, and that was early last year when Arizona got off to the 7-0 start. He is whatever and won against Arizona in his coaching career, including, remember, demolishing them in the first round of the playoffs last season. Chargers at Niners is the Sunday night game. Both 7 seeds, by the way, in each conference right now. San Francisco at 4-4 and the Chargers at 5-3. Chargers with, top 2 wide receivers out. They seem more banged up than the Niners right now, which is saying something. How do you like that game?
I like 49ers. I think Chargers will make the playoffs. They'll sneak in the bottom because the quarterback's good enough to drag them to a few more wins. But I like the San Francisco style of play. I like when they add McCaffrey, you talk about an injection of a real problem for defenses. And I like the way they play defense. So, yeah, I'll take the San Francisco 49ers in that game by a touchdown.
How much chance do you give the Packers at home against the Cowboys?
None. I think that none.
Why?
Okay. I wish I had a fork with me. I'd show you. I'm going to stick a fork in them real soon. What's happened to them? I'm not mad at them, but they got issues, and the quarterback is really struggling physically now. You watch him; he grabbed that thumb almost every play, and I don't like the way that they're set up to go from here on out. And I think Dallas. My man, Danny Quinn, I've been friends with Dan since college. Danny Quinn, when his 33 sacks, he is going to get all over Mr. Rodgers.
Well, Pat, they've won 13 games each of the last 3 years. And you're saying stick a fork in them, they're done. We thought this was maybe the most complete roster in that conference when the season started.
Me too.
So is this a Matt LaFleur problem where he's lost his team?
I think it's, everything will flow back to him for sure. It may flow past him to the front office. You answer this question. You're our resident GM, David. Did the front office do enough to get talent around Rodgers for this season? Forget the past. Did they use the past success to not go out and get some of the things that it's pretty clear they need?
Well, I think they had an awful offseason, but I think they've had a bunch of awful off seasons. I think some of their past drafts are coming back to haunt them now as well. They also bet on the health of their 2 tackles who were coming off major injuries. And obviously they got that wrong. That to me is where this starts, Pat. That the offense would have stayed together if they could block for Aaron Rodgers. They can't, and he's freaking out.
Well, let me take that a step further because I agree with you, but they didn't hope they were going to be healthy. They were stuck with contracts. They had to go with them again. And I believe in Bakhtiari's case, they're going to have to stick around with him again next year. I don't like where they are. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl as the NFC representative, so I'm with you. That front 7 on defense, remember exactly what I said. They got a matchup corner and a front 7 that can rush the passer. Now, every time I watch Za'Darius over in Minnesota, what the heck? Look at all that guy's leading the NFL in hits on the quarterback. He's got 8 sacks or something. So it may go to the coach, but I think it's going to go past the coach.
Pat, you mentioned Pete Carroll earlier, and he likes the situation he's in with Tampa. And, I started thinking about just that answer. And I got to think Andy Reid loves the fact that everybody's talking about Buffalo. Everybody's talking about the Eagles. And somehow the Chiefs are almost lying in the weeds in the AFC right now.
Yeah, it's hard for them. It's just like Andy would be hard to hide in the weeds himself, personally. But
well, those shirts do.
That's another story. I like it. Look, coaches, we just said this before about Pete being underdog on the road. They like this role. They like that all the attentions to Buffalo. And so, yeah, he's got a good looking football team. The defense, David says this every year, right about now. The defense starts to play better every year when Spags gets everything coordinated and he knows what they can't do and he knows what they can do, and they start playing good defense. And I think they've been pretty good in the red zone. So anytime you play Kansas City and the opponent can't score a touchdown in the red zone, has to settle for a field goal, that's a victory for the Chiefs.
And Jacksonville has mastered settling for field goals in the red zones and committing turnovers in the red zones this year, and that's Kansas City's opponent. We just asked what happened with the Packers. Well, what the heck's going on with the Raiders? They're 2-6. Their roster's much better than that. I know they've had injuries. Everybody has injuries. This is not a good look for Josh McDaniels.
Terrible look for him. I mean, they're not going to fire him, not after 1 year, but they spent money on Crosby and Chandler, to guarantee they had a pass rush, and they've got 9 sacks, and 6 of them are max. So the pass rush is not around. I have inconsistent problems with Mr. Carr and company. They just good enough that you never get, into the mindset of we got to move on from Derek Carr. And I'm not there yet either, but man, it's close. And on any given Sunday, you'd like to say, there's the bench. But as we talked earlier, no one's doing that.
What are you thinking of the progression of Justin Fields right now?
Awesome. I think the club did the right thing. They figured out an offense that works for him. They've set him free. It's pretty simple. Jimmy's there all the time, Mr. Miller, my partner. And he's like, look, they got something going now. And the kid's throwing. He threw for over 300 yards 2 weeks in a row, right, David? I believe he did.
Yes.
So yeah, he's taking the next step, Mark, where you're starting to get excited that you might have something. A month ago, we didn't think they had anything in Justin, but now you see a lot more, and his athleticism is ridiculous.
I give him a lot of credit. They had an early bye. They changed their offense to cater to him during that bye, and they went and got him a wide receiver. And so now he's got 2 competent receivers. Neither one may be a 1, but they're both 2s. So at least he's got something around him.
Yep.
And the Bears, by the way, a 3-point home favorite against the Lions. We got 30 seconds. You got an upset special?
An upset special. Let me ask you, do you think Pittsburgh can beat New Orleans?
Well, they're 1.5-point home dog. Yes. The Andy
Mark?
Dalton.
Sure. Anything can happen.
You know what that
Two
sounds
bad
like?
football teams right there.
That
Pat.
sounded like a guy who's going to watch hockey instead of football on Sunday.
I'll
Sure.
be watching football, but the Saints and the Steelers, it just doesn't do much for me, Pat. It just doesn't do much for me. These teams are bad. That's what I was trying to get at the beginning. There's some bad football teams out there this year, and a couple of good ones have buys this week. So that's the way it is. Pat, as always.
All right, you want a real upset as I leave? Washington beats Philly. Ooh.
He doesn't believe it, though.
I don't. That was for Mark.
I like that one. Miller and Moulton, Pat Kirwan, twice a week. Thanks to the good folks at Pinchers. Chris Landry to talk college football on the other side, right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Thank you, Pat.
Mark, remember Charles Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth. that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Good, good. You were spot on with Georgia and Tennessee. We could tell in your voice that you thought Georgia was going to rout them.
Oh, well. There's always a lot of surprises, though, around the, it's what makes it fun, I think.
Absolutely. But I even think you had to be, when these teams quit like this, like what you got going on with the Canes right now, that is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's a mess. And I don't know if you guys follow it or not. And it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, but
the quarterback.
Okay, good. I didn't know. I mean, I know you guys get up real early, and the quarterback, that's an interesting NIL deal that flipped to Florida. But yeah, no, and that's a big problem, because you got to really figure out who you need to move on from on your roster. And that's a big rebuild. And, today, there's going to be just the heat, it's almost like next year's going to be the first year.
Well, he's going to have to take as many transfers as he is recruits coming in at the rate he's going to lose guys.
You got to do that in this day and age. You saw Lincoln Riley do it at USC. Brian Kelly did it at LSU. You got to, in this day and age, you're going to have to do that. And most importantly, you're going to have to make that work. And it is not easy taking guys that have played a couple of years somewhere, or maybe haven't played, but it's got some experience that you got to integrate all that in. And that's where coaching comes in, and you've got to really adapt. So he's got to really look at a lot of things. But that attitude, there's some of the effort and things, those are not, that to me is just the worst thing that you've got going. You've got to clean out that attitude.
You spent any time on UCF Tulane?
A lot, yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. Tulane's been really good. This is really going to be a test. This game, and then obviously Tulane's got Cincinnati coming up too. They got SMU as well. They're going to earn it if they win it, but this should be a lot of fun. Both of these defenses have played pretty well in the red zone. Both of these offenses are good. I think John Rice Plumlee's going to play.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, our final segment for those of you in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. The bonus hour begins at the top of the hour in the 239. Chris Landry joins us at this day and time every week. He of LandryFootball.com, LandryFootball.com. You can follow Chris on Twitter at LandryFootball. How are you this Veterans Day?
I am. My thoughts to all the veterans out there. My dad was in the Navy. I just got a text from my niece. Her son, they requested some stuff from my dad, and I just got a text like 2 minutes before I got on with you guys. You should see the big collage that he did with my dad. It gave me a lump in the throat. But yeah, all of my thoughts and prayers, and all the thanks for all the veterans out there.
No doubt. And we echo those sentiments very much. Let's get to the games, because this is a weekend where last weekend had the sexiness of Georgia and Tennessee. This is the weekend that we've talked about a couple years from now when the playoff is going on. This weekend is going to be monstrous because there are so many games that would have conference championship implications, and then getting a team to a 12-team playoff when we get there. One of those is UCF and Tulane. This is going to be the AAC. This team could very well end up winning the AAC and get themselves maybe to a New Year's Six bowl. And I look at this game in a tight game. UCF's been in this game a bunch. That's a program that's used to a bigger moment. Is Tulane ready for their big moment?
Well, we're going to find out. They played very well. Obviously, they beat Kansas State. And, it wasn't it wasn't a fluke that they beat Kansas State. What was really amazing, the one game this year, is how they lost to Southern Miss. That was really crazy. But a couple of things. I think that UCF has been a little bit better defensively of late. They do a really good job with their pass rush. Tulane's gotten a little bit better with that. John Rice Plumlee's coming back. This is going to be quite the challenge for Tulane. They've been really good offensively. They're very well coached. They're very disciplined on defense. UCF is a little bit more explosive. Tulane is a little more steady, save for that Southern Miss game. This is going to be real interesting, and it's going to come down to red zone offense, because that's the key. I think Tulane is a little bit more efficient in the red zone. UCF sometimes has to settle for field goals, for going for big plays. I think that's where the game is going to be determined.
Chris, Mark and I have been doing this together a while. And in our infancy, I think we were like a year or so in. South Florida hosted West Virginia on a Friday night on ESPN2. Sean McDonough did the game. And West Virginia was top 5. This was Slayton, and they were, could have played for the national title that year.
Yeah.
And we went and we did our show live from the parking lot, the whole deal, and it was a major event. And South Florida pulled the upset, and it was a BFD, as we say. Is this that type of game for Tulane? This is the first time they've been ranked, hosting a ranked team since 1949. I know it's a tough market where all they care about is LSU and the Saints, but is this type of event that UCF is walking into?
No, because it's just what you said. It's big for those small pocket of Tulane fans that are really passionate, and I don't think they're getting enough play and enough respect. Even in the New Orleans market, as you kind of alluded to, it's about LSU. It used to be that way. It used to be up until the 70s when I was coaching at LSU. In the 80s, Tulane had some good teams, but ever since they've kind of downsized. I mean, I got to remind folks that Tulane was in the SEC with Georgia. I mean, they were, and they went to Rose Bowls. But the program has changed. They've become a lot different. So it doesn't have that feel. A lot more people, I think, cared about it in Tampa, and they were ranked high. Tulane's never been like that. I think the closest thing was when Tommy Bowden had that great Sean King, and that was really good. It was in the dome. It was a little sterile. They would get like, maybe 25,000 instead of 12,000. It's just not the same. It's just the UCFs and the USFs, just a lot more people that are into it. But I think that Willie Fritz has done a phenomenal job.
TCU and Texas. I mean, no one gives TCU any respect. Vegas has them as a 7-point underdog, and Texas has, when they're good, they look really good. Both of these teams have problems defensively. We should see a lot of points in this one.
It's the 30,000 view of this is TCU starts off slow, Texas starts off strong. TCU finishes strong, Texas finishes slow. They really struggle late. I mean, what a matchup in this regard. Texas can win this football game. It's about Bijan Robinson. It's about their defense stepping up big time at home. But this TCU team has been very consistent on how they're able to come back. They don't play great defense. You're right. They give up yards. But I tell you what they do effectively. They get off the field on third downs. They get off the field in the red zone pretty effectively. And obviously, they've got a dual threat quarterback. This is, to me, I trust TCU more. I have a hard time trusting Texas. But I'm telling you, Texas's best game for 4 quarters beats TCU. I mean, they really are capable, and particularly Bijan Robinson's going to be the key because that's going to slow down the pace of the game a little bit and allow their offense to have some big plays, but also protect their defense, which if there's a defense that's playing at their top level that has the personnel to kind of shut down, so it's Texas's defense. But I don't think you can shut down TCU for 4 quarters. This is going to be fascinating. This is going to be quite the challenge. TCU is going to earn it. If they win this one and they go on the road and have to beat Baylor next week, they're going to earn their way into it. They really are.
We could ask you about 6 questions involving Alabama. I'll try to do 1 or 2 really quickly. What did Georgia do differently than Alabama against Tennessee? Because most of us from the outside looking in think, well, the personnel's similar. Okay, so is the personnel not remotely similar? And that's what was exposed in the last 4 weeks? Or did the Georgia coaching staff just do a much better job?
Well, there's a little bit of some of everything in what you said, but the biggest thing is the personnel matchup. See, Georgia can match up outside at corner. Alabama can't. This is not a typical Alabama secondary. So Georgia was able to keep their safeties deep. They were able to, most importantly, defend Tennessee's run game. You got to stop Tennessee's run first. And they did it with a minimum guys in the box. Georgia's much better at defensive tackle. Alabama's really good at end. They've got 4 guys at end that can rush the passer. 2 that are really good that we know a lot about, but there are 4 of them. They're not as good at defensive tackle. They had to cheat a safety up a little bit. Georgia did not. The other thing that they did is their linebackers are more athletic and better. So they were able to keep those guys deeper. They were able to keep the Tennessee's offense in front of them. They were able to break on the football a lot better, whereas Alabama was taking chances. Alabama was having to flip their guys. They normally play their safety to the field. Tennessee was lining up to the boundary. The safeties had to cheat up, and they got beat deep. Georgia never let them get deep. So it's a better scheme, but a scheme doesn't work if you don't have the personnel to run it. I know you think, oh my God, Alabama doesn't have talent. Of course they've got talent, but they don't have the type of talent that they normally have to defend this type of an offense. The other thing about Alabama that's different than Georgia over the past several years, Alabama's a little bit more finesse. They're more speed centric. They're more reliant on big plays. Georgia is more about line of scrimmage. They're more physical at defensive tackle and at linebacker, and that was the biggest difference. They played oftentimes with 5 guys in the box and defended the run, and they had maximum guys in coverage, so Tennessee couldn't get deep. And underneath, you forced Hendon Hooker to throw it underneath in narrow windows, not the same. And how did they lock up those receivers from Tennessee? You got better cover guys. So it is Jimmy's and Joe's. But, I think the X's and O's were part of it because you got the Jimmy's and Joe's.
All right, we'll lead that into Alabama and Ole Miss then, Chris, because Ole Miss, you just talked about the defensive tackles, Alabama. Ole Miss can run the football. I know they don't have maybe the power on the outside that Tennessee did. They don't throw it as well, but they're a different Ole Miss team. They can run the football really well. Can they be effective against Alabama?
I think they can. This is a game in which what Ole Miss does with their run game is they try to create a lot of, eye candy. They get a lot of pre-snap motions. They try to get you misaligned. So what you've got to do defensively against them is you've got to be very lane disciplined. Now, you say, well, you always got to do that in any scheme, but it's more difficult when a lot of stuff is flowing in front of you because you're distracted about where you need to go, where the ball could go. Just play your gap. I think that Alabama can play this a lot more effectively. This is not like Tennessee where you got to defend deep. Ole Miss can't throw the football well. Ole Miss will get some yards, but I don't know that they'll get enough points. And here's the other thing. Ole Miss's defense is not good. I think Ole Miss, name me one good team Ole Miss has beaten this year. Not a one. The closest is Kentucky. They're not that good. I think the defense is vulnerable. I think Alabama rebounds here.
Can I ask a very cynical question?
Of course.
Name me a good team Alabama's beaten this year. And I mean, we all know they got lucky against Texas. That they got help. So I mean Alabama Nation is freaking out right now. They're freaking out. They're seeing the end of their dynasty. They think the sky is falling. And I guess what we're getting at with these questions is, did they just happen to lose 2 games on the last play of the game and everything's still fine? Or is, quite frankly, Georgia's the top dog and Alabama's playing catch up?
Well, Georgia is the top dog. Georgia was the best team in college football last year and this year. And I know Alabama beat them in the conference championship game. That was a surprise to me. And I know Alabama, if they had the receivers, who knows? Georgia is the best program right now in the country, in my view. But I don't think Alabama is that bad. And I would counter your point was, well, Alabama played LSU very, very well. Ole Miss got thumped by LSU. They got off to, so I think there's a little difference. Ole Miss struggled for quite a bit defensively against Tulsa. I think there's a difference. But look, I think the mindset of Alabama is going to be big here. I think the mindset's going to be good. But Ole Miss can run the football on most people. It'll cause a lot of problems. This run game, its run offense is the closest thing to kind of what we've seen when Art Browse was at Baylor. It's really, really effective.
LSU going to get it done against Arkansas? I mean, and get themselves that much closer to Atlanta?
I think so. They're playing with a lot of consistency and confidence. It's an early game, early start. Fayetteville, it's going to be about 24, I hear, to temperature-wise to start. The reason why is I think Arkansas is capable of playing well and pulling the upset, but I just don't like the way they're playing right now. I don't like the way the quarterback's playing, and he's not playing with a lot of confidence. There's not anybody that can win in the passing game. I think it's going to be difficult for Arkansas to win it unless LSU reverts back to mistakes and turnovers.
Chris, we've got 3 Pac-12 teams with 1 loss. All 3 can still technically post a 12-1 Pac-12 championship. Between Oregon, USC, and UCLA, when you look at them on tape, who is your money on to run the table?
Well, Oregon is really good and looks the best on tape, but they're much better at home. I think UCLA is the most complete, and I would put USC at the bottom of that list. I think that it's going to be difficult because you're going to have to win the conference championship game, obviously, at a neutral field. I would probably go Oregon and UCLA. In that order, and then in USC third.
And Mark, what's interesting, Matt Leinart came out this week and said UCLA is better than USC. Matt Leinart said that.
Well, and you watch him play, and again, it's difficult. You win, give them credit. They will have their chance, but boy, they have looked the least impressive. But I think Oregon's done the most. And UCLA I'm worried about on the road. I'm worried about Oregon on the road. But those two have looked better than USC. USC's not looked good against Cal, against Arizona State. I mean, a lot of people.
So for the record, 10 seconds, you like Tulane in a close one over UCF?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth. I'm going to go with them in a close one, but I'm not real confident about that. That game could go either way. I think that's one of, to me, it's up there amongst the most intriguing games of the weekend for me.
Well, you're going head-to-head with Miller and Moulton, Chris. We both have UCF in a close one.
There you go.
So
there you go.
We're showing our biases.
Gus Mel's on. Go with the Gus bus. Go join him at the Waffle House after the game after the big win. That's what he does.
You're based in Louisiana. We're based in Florida.
I got to and an LSU guy picking Tulane. That's not too good. I'll lose my LSU card on that.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, take care,
the
guys.
games.
You too. Thank you.
Chris Landry, LandryFootball.com. Follow him on Twitter at LandryFootball.
You know, the expert was against us twice last week, and it did not bode well for us.
No. We're in trouble with that UCF pick. We've just doomed the Knights in their biggest game of the year. We did. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening. Happy Veterans Day.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Sparty's an 11.5-point dog on the aircraft carrier. I'd take the Zags and lay the points.
Really? I wouldn't. I'd take the points. Want to go ahead, Dad?
The wind?
I actually think Michigan State's pretty good this year. And, I mean, Gonzaga's good also, but Gonzaga had a shaky early performance.
So did Sparty.
Yeah, I know.
In their exhibition game.
It's a lot of points. I think I'd take the points.
What are we going with?
What do you mean?
What are you going with? You got a fork and you're eating. What are you going with?
Oh, I did this an hour ago. I finished off a thing of lasagna.
Lasagna?
Yeah. Now I'm just scooping up the crumbs.
No, I know, but lasagna, yesterday, buffalo chicken dip. I love your breakfast choices, David. I absolutely love them.
Does it really matter when you eat them? I'm telling you, I hardly eat anything anymore after 2:00.
I'm sorry.
I am starving in the morning.
I'm really sorry about you not eating after 2.
Yeah, well, that's all right, Mark. I'm like a bear hibernating for winter. I've got a little fat that I can burn off. I think I'll live. Gus wouldn't go back to Auburn. Klecko. You can only deal with those people so long. Besides, he took their money. He's done. He won him a national title as a coordinator. He took him to a national title game as a head coach. Florida State caught a huge break in that game, a couple of them. But when they were down 21-3 and they ran the fake punt, Auburn knew the fake punt was coming and didn't stop it. When you're a head coach, that's tough to live with.
You know, there's a commercial on in the background, and they're eating, and every thing of the commercial, it's a tooth commercial for Clear Choice dental implants. So everybody's eating food. And this guy was eating shish kebabs. I think shish kebabs are about the most overrated thing on the planet.
All right. Does it depend what's the
No.
shish kebab is
I'd rather
made of?
have, what would you rather have? A steak or a steak with some cherry tomatoes and green peppers and onions?
Well, also, to me, it's not a lot of food. I mean, oftentimes you get 3 small pieces of whatever it is, and then you're getting 2 cooked tomatoes. By the way, I don't like cooked tomatoes. I like my tomatoes
The
cold.
onions are never cooked enough either.
The onions are never cooked enough. Also, I'm not as big into cooked peppers. I prefer my peppers cold. If you're going to do peppers, you have to do them a certain way. It's kind
You
of
have
like
to do them how you do them for brats. They've got to be.
Thank you. Exactly. So that's the thing about the shish kebab. To me, the only part of the shish kebab that's really any good is the meat, and you get 3 pieces.
Thank you.
Here we go.
That's how you break something down.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour on a Football Friday, a Veterans Day edition. A tip of the cap, a heartfelt thanks and gratitude we can never say or do enough. And we should pay you a lot more, too. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com on this Veterans Day. Lot going on in the sports world right now. It's not just, football. The baseball offseason began at 5 o'clock yesterday, and a lot of moves in the hours leading up to it. Rays, in all likelihood, said goodbye to Kevin Kiermaier. They also traded away the starting first baseman, Ji-Man Choi. Now, he did have a rough second half. It was not good.
And I like him.
The fans like him, too.
Yeah, he's a guy that's easy to like. I watched far more Rays than any other baseball team. I don't like the Marlins broadcast as much as, for whatever reason, I like the Rays broadcast. Don't ask me why. But he was a guy that was fun to watch, had a great attitude, was even Klecko said, hate to see him gone.
The Giants said goodbye to Evan Longoria. Chance they'll re-sign him. I have to admit, if you're the Rays, don't you have to kick that tire? I think there's some sentiment there from Longoria that he would come back. Rays need offense. And if he gets hurt and he can't play all the time, well, the Rays are a platoon team. I mean, they have like 2 starting pitchers, 3 openers, and 6 of their 9 positions in the field. They basically platoon guys. So, I mean, so what if Longoria can only start 70 games and play in 100? That's most of your roster. But Justin Turner sent packing by the Dodgers for now. Justin Verlander opted out of the Astros. Now he may resign. That's a business decision. He only had 1 year and $25 million left. He's looking for 2-3 years and more money. He'll get at least 2 years, and his first digit will be at least a 3. I mean, Mark, there's a chance, and Scherzer's making 43. All right, that Verlander says, I'll take 2 for 80. Who's going to give me 2 for 80?
The Mets.
They may, because I think they're losing DeGrom, by the way.
I do too.
Like, not that anybody cares, but, bigger chance, Yankees losing Judge, Mets losing DeGrom. I think it's the Mets losing DeGrom. Because I do think that there's a team out there that will just flat out outbid the Mets. And I'm not sure at the end of the day, I mean, Mark, if you're Hal Steinbrenner, can you really... You could get mad at the Giants, the Cubs, or the Dodgers, but at the end of the day, don't you have to match?
I do. The question is, does Hal think he has to? And he does business differently than his old man. And
got that right.
And I'm not certain that he thinks that way, David. I'm certain that I would have had this done by now.
By the way, Judge did an interview a couple of days ago in which he said, if you remember, I started out the year kind of slow. I only hit like 1 homer in our first 12 games. And he said, and there were a couple of games when I was walking to the plate thinking to myself, did I make a mistake turning down $220 million? Could you imagine if he had picked up the phone and called Cashman like 10 days into the season and said, hey, upon further review, is that deal still available? And Cashman said, yeah. And they sign it, and then he goes and hits 62.
But he bet on himself, started killing the ball. And I deep down think he's going to be a Yankee because I can't fathom the idea if I'm running that organization of losing him. I can't.
Yeah, I don't think you can, quite frankly, because also they own their television network and he's a huge ratings draw, and they ask so much money for the cost of their tickets and their suites and what have you. You've got to feed the beast. So if you're not going to give him the 300 to 350 million, then you better be prepared to go get an all-star shortstop and Justin Verlander. And I mean, if it ain't going to be Judge, you better bring in 3 all-stars. But anyway, so there's that going on. Pay attention. The baseball offseason began at 5:00 yesterday. Hey, Bucks got a break last night. Carolina beat Atlanta. Do you think they catch a break and Pittsburgh beats the Saints?
Pat picked that, and, he asked me. Obviously, he knows my wife's from Pittsburgh, and I pay a little attention to the Steelers. David, I know we're supposed to give our picks, and we're supposed to know. How in the hell is anybody supposed to look at the Saints and the Steelers and give an objective idea of what the hell is going to go on with the way these two teams are playing football? I've got Andy Dalton and Kenny Pickett. I got a rookie that doesn't know how to play yet, and I got an old guy who's not playing very well.
Did you see the Steelers stat? Their longest touchdown this year? This is mind-boggling. We're halfway through the season. I mean, they played 8 games. So the stat was each team's longest touchdown of the year. All right. The Steelers' longest touchdown is 8 yards. The second shortest touchdown, if you will, by team. And I think this would surprise people. Justin Herbert's LA Chargers, 23 yards.
The Steelers are averaging 15 points a game.
I mean, the Bucks.
I don't know how they beat the Saints because their offense is that inept.
I got to admit, though, I've got a bad taste in my mouth. I was just in New Orleans on Monday night, but they did play the Ravens, and the Steelers' defense right now is not as good as the Ravens' defense is right now.
No, the Steelers' defense is bad in just about every statistical category.
I know.
They're 29th in total yards. They're 24th in points. They're 26th in third down percentage. So skip how bad their offense is, and I know it hurts, but they can't keep teams off the field, or they can't get off the field, rather.
But can the Bucks catch a break and have the Steelers win a game at home? Because you and I both think Tampa Bay's losing in Germany. We think Seattle right now is playing better, and we don't necessarily think they're quote-unquote the better team, but we do think they're the better team in mid-November. I don't know how you can argue that. I mean, they've won 4 in a row. They're playing good football. They're good at the point of attack. They got a rookie running back who's tearing it up. And Geno Smith's playing like a top 5 quarterback in the league. And he's got 2 wideouts. I mean, right now, it's mind-boggling to say this, but the Seattle Seahawks are a more complete team this week than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, we think the Bucs' ceiling is much higher, but they're closer to the floor right now than they're the ceiling.
Third downs will be big in this game. Seattle not very good in getting off the field. Tampa not very good in converting third downs. Both of them are 23rd, 24th in the league in those respective categories. That, to me, is the game there.
I'm wondering if on that final drive last week that Brady found something and found someone. That's what I'm wondering. If he found a tight end, Mark.
And that's all well and good. Their receiving core is pretty banged up right now. So they better find something. I mean, Evans is banged up. Julio is week to week, seemingly.
I understand. But
I haven't seen much out of Godwin since he's come back.
But the tight end is the middle of the field, and Brady prefers to work in the middle of the field. And that's why I wonder, between Scotty Miller not getting cut because they just needed a healthy body, and Scotty can run those little underneath stuff. Brady's always liked his Welker Edelman type receiver. Okay. And if he and Cade Otton have a little something finally going on. By the way, did you hear Gronk tease last week? All right. Gronk was on that Fox pregame show. And they asked him, and he said, well, I got a lot of ex-girlfriends out there that miss me. Which I have to admit, his current girlfriend's got to have a hell of a sense of humor.
Right.
Because they've been dating for a few years. And he's out there talking about all his ex-girlfriends that he left on the road.
Well, he had the other one, though. He threw the Zach Wilson comment in there, too.
Right.
I mean, he was swinging for the fences.
He sure was.
That was a lively audition. He should be in a studio show now.
But so listen, you got to feel good if you're a Bucks fan, because both Miller and Moulton are taking Seattle in the 2.5. You have to feel terrible if you're a UCF fan, because we both like the Knights on the road getting a 1.5 against Tulane. And, well, the upset of the week is going to be Houston against the Giants, because both Miller and Moulton took the G-men and laid the 4.5. So there you have it. Take it to the house. That's what's going to happen.
The Dolphins and the Browns, I want to get into when we come back, because there are some things that Miami does not do well defensively that the Browns could take advantage of. I think, they have been getting by, and we love the offense. This game's going to be on the defense to stop Chubb, and can they do it? And I want to get into that with David. We'll talk some more of the NFL games, a few of the college games as well, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and all that stuff still coming up. But when we come back, let's get into the Dolphins and the Browns, because that one, to me, Miami's got to keep on keeping on, David. And this is a real test to me.
Browns coming off their bye too. So this will be as healthy as they are for the rest of the year in all likelihood. They look real good the last time we saw them. They absolutely devoured Joe Burrow and his offensive line. And as we all know, the Dolphins have a little problem blocking up front. So if they could do it to Cincinnati, why couldn't they do it to Miami?
And you know how the Browns are going to attack. They're going to run the football. And can Miami stop it? And can they get off the field on third down? Something defensively they've not been great at this year. We'll talk more Browns and Dolphins. We'll get into some of the other games that are going on this weekend when we come back. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day win. Still about 25 minutes away on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
You had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Mark, to that last point that you just made before we went to break, Browns fans made a song for their offense. And chop the rock. Don't throw it. Just do not throw the ball.
What do you have for a play?
A Jeremy Grant crossover dunk. He crossed up Zion, then dunked on all the Pelicans. And the call is great. Right down Bourbon Street.
Okay.
Seriously, though? I mean, wait. Okay.
Last night's football game was very boring.
I understand the Heat, won in overtime. The LA Kings won on a goal with 1.4 seconds left. But see, part of the problem is like it's easier when it's the video play of the day because anything can be the play of the day with video. So I hope this call needs to be great, if you know what I mean. Because otherwise this is just one play in an abstract game. So is this a great call?
I mean it's very expressive. It's like,
okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not boring, obviously. It's like,
okay.
It's electric. Boogie oogie oogie oogie. $30 seconds. Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap today was the day when. Some final thoughts on this Veterans Day, all coming up in roughly 20 minutes' time. We made our picks against the number, and they make their way onto our website at floridasportsnetwork.com. We do not duck from our picks. We take the grief that comes with how bad they are. Lee Sterling also made his picks, Mark, and he's laying a lot of points this week. Laying the 8 with the Gators, the 7 with the Knowles, the 3.5 with the Bills, the 3.5 with the Dolphins, but he's taking the 2.5 with Seattle. So Lee and the two of us are on the Seahawks. His game of the week is interesting in and of itself because Lee has a soft spot for the Miami Hurricanes, and they are in his game of the week this week, taking on Georgia Tech.
You mentioned he picked the Dolphins. The Dolphins are laying 3.5 against the Cleveland Browns.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I haven't fully bought the Dolphins. I buy Tua. I buy the offense. I love watching the team play. They are as entertaining as all get up. But this is another game that I want to see them win. I want to see them play a team that's going to try to run the football, be very physical, and attack their defense in that manner and see how they do. Because the Dolphins' defense has been average at best.
Oh, at best. At best. They're not forcing turnovers also. They're like tied for second fewest turnovers forced in the league. So they struggle to get stops, but they ain't helping the offense out. You know, like in the last couple of years with Brian Flores running the defense, I mean, the defense was helping the offense out. That ain't happening. Let me ask you this, though. We all know about Myles Garrett, and he'll be double-teamed on every play, no matter where he lines up. But they got Clowney, and they got others who can rush the passer. You think the Dolphins can block the Browns?
Not really. But they're doing such a good job of moving Tua around, and they've got so much speed at receiver that they can make a short pass turn into a long gain really quickly.
I understand that. But to me, this is the type of game in which, boy, it would be nice if the Dolphins' offensive line could rise to the occasion. And I'm not expecting no sacks. I'm not expecting keeping Myles Garrett off the stat sheet. But 2 sacks allowed?
A turnover or two.
You know, just, I mean, you got Teron Armstead. They usually line Garrett in the spot where Teron Armstead would be blocking him. Hey, big fella, you wanted to get paid. They went and got you and got you paid. Right? Don't give me this, you got a toe. I don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it, man. This is why we got you, and this is why we paid you. And they got first, second, and third round draft picks elsewhere on this line. It's like, hey, guys, now's the time. Because if we block these guys, we're going to destroy them. Okay? Destroy them. But if we don't block them, not only are we going to lose, our quarterback might get hurt. Remember?
And the whole objective is to keep this guy upright, because when he's upright, we win.
Right. If he can finish the game, we've lost once in the last 2 years. Okay? So that kind of the game within the game for me, Mark, is, you know, will the Dolphins offensive line turn into the Bengals offensive line 2 Monday nights ago and just get overwhelmed? Because it's very possible.
This is where the pickup of Jeff Wilson Jr. I think helps, because they get him the ball to the backfield and those little short screen passes. I think those are the type of plays that's going to slow that rush down, give that offensive line a little break when they need it. They don't run the football at all.
No. You know, will they be able to take advantage of Cleveland just teeing off on the pass and just sneak a little bit of a running game in at times? But, Mark, you mentioned it. Could we see a screen game this week to take advantage of Cleveland's edge, say, rushing the passer?
You know, wide receiver screens to Wilson. That's the style of play that I think Miami's going to have to win this football game. This game scares me for the Dolphins.
It concerns me. It doesn't scare me. Because the one part that the Cleveland defense is not facing this week, you know, Jamar Chase didn't play for Cincinnati.
Right.
And that's it. So Cleveland looked around and said, we think we can cover everybody else. Cleveland's looking around this week going, who can we cover? We can't cover him. I don't think we can cover him. This Gesicki guy's a problem. I don't know who we can cover. So it really comes down to, I don't think the back 6, 7 can cover anybody. But, Mark, I don't know if the Dolphins can block the front 4.
You got an upset this week in the NFL?
Well, my 2 upsets last week both lost heartbreakers. An upset.
The Lions will beat the Bears. There's mine.
Arizona will beat the Rams because I don't think Stafford's going to play. Does that count? The line's
Sure.
like 2.
Sure.
All right, I'll give you one. I don't wholeheartedly believe it, but I'll give you one. This is Green Bay season, right? I mean,
Yes.
this is it. Give me Green Bay over Dallas.
That's clutch, David. That is clutch. Time now for our clutch play of the day. Felipe, it's all on you.
All right. Blazers forward Jeremy Grant snatched Zion's ankles and dunked through the entire Pelicans off defense.
Good playmaking big man. Hands off here to Grant. He's got Williamson in his sights. Crosses it between the wickets into the lane. Oh, right down Bourbon Street with a hurricane. Woo-hoo!
Right down Bourbon Street with a hurricane.
Well, might be a little sensitive for those in New Orleans, but okay. I hear you.
The same thing, though.
Well, that's the drink.
Oh,
hurricane's a drink, guys. That's at Patty O'Brien's in New Orleans. That's what you get there. That's the drink. That's why down Bourbon Street with the hurricane, guys.
Sorry for being an uncultured 22-year-old.
Maybe you need a refresher course. It's all ball bearings these days. That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch Vodka, check them out at Total Wines, but more importantly, head to the Seaside Bar and Grill to watch the Dolphins. Enjoy them for their watch party as they take on the Browns this Sunday, 1 o'clock. Get the Bloody Mary bar. Check out the great specials on Clutch Vodka. That's Clutch with a K.
Got to give it up to Felipe. You know, the play of the day is on him, and that was not a buzzer beater, a game-winning goal, anything like that. That was just a dunk in the middle of a game, and he said, hey, guys, got to trust me on this. It's a really good call. And it was.
It was a really good call.
Yeah. Good job.
He had so much pressure. He was so petrified over there playing that.
I was low-key. I'm not going to lie.
I know, it went right through the entire offense. I mean, defense. You had 6 words to get out, and you were struggling there, but that's all right. A lot of pressure was put on you before that segment by David Moulton,
right.
So
I did.
You had to live up to it.
I did.
I sat it out. Usually I'm the one applying the pressure from this seat. I sat that one out and let the good cop go bad cop for a change.
I could use a Clutch vodka tonic after this.
Bottles all over the studio. Belly up, young man. Belly up.
Just take a swig, my friend. Just rip it open, pound a big swig, close it, and put it down.
It's Friday. Yeah.
Miller and Moulton. By the way, apparently Kershaw's going back to the Dodgers.
Dodgers, 1-year deal.
Yeah. So he's taking it year to year at this point. He did a 1-year deal for last year. He's doing a 1-year deal for next year. So he'll be a lifelong Dodger. Because if he was going to go, this is the time to go. Texas needs pitching. It's like 4 blocks from where he grew up, and they have a ton of money available. So if he was going to leave, this would have been the year.
We ask you to stay and not leave as we do the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when what's on tap, and we'll run through a few more of the games and give you some of the lines on Miller and Moulton, all coming up next right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com, flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I have 2 today was the day wins.
Bally, go to floridasportsnetwork.com. You can download the segment, and you can the pics will be posted there, within an hour, if they're not already up?
Give it an hour.
They'll be tweeted out. They'll be put on the website. All right, here's a couple things I'm not going to put in Today Was the Day When. Today's a bad day. This was discovered today. And I don't know how that's a good thing for any of us.
Oh, what year?
1675.
Jesus.
Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz.
That's awful. I never took calculus, thank God. I just hear how awful it is. And I'm like, I'm just going to stay away from that. One minute. 25 seconds.
Shit.
Ten seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Our last segment of the week here on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We've said it many times, but happy Veterans Day. And to those of you who have served and are serving, thanks is not enough. And if Miller and Moulton could give you more, believe me, we would.
Well said. We'd give a lot of people a lot more if we could.
Yeah.
And again, we don't have much.
Well, right. But also,
we agreed on 3 picks. We let people make a whole lot of money by going the other way.
But also, I mean, if we were running the show, 10 years ago, we would have been making money off weed and we would have regulated sports gambling. I mean, we'd have so much money for teachers and police and firefighters and roads and military that, I mean, if, we had our way, we'd have all this stuff taken care of. I don't know about the Ukraine. I mean, Middle East, I mean, that's, that stuff we can't do anything about, but we would have taken care of the financial part of the deal. We would have.
We were ahead of our time, David.
I mean, you guys would have voted us out at some point. I mean,
you'd have never voted us in.
Well, but that's assuming that they did. See, then early on, we would have been good. It would have been raising a bunch of money. Okay, would have been taking care of things. By now, they'd be sick of us.
My filter's getting so much better. When I tell you the line I was about to say after the show, David, you will laugh, but I am not going to get in trouble today.
Well, you had a pretty good line at 6:08 this morning. I will give you that. Those who may want to go to floridasportsnetwork.com and download the monologue. It's pretty good. Gotta say.
Thank you.
Gotta say. And Felipe, if you're not putting that into a promo, then you're done doing promos.
Now 4.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
The Mayflower Pilgrims make their first landing and sign the Mayflower Compact, the first framework of government in the territory that is now the United States.
When did they do that?
1620.
Boy, it took us a long time to get our you-know-what together, though. Let me tell you.
Oh, we were being held down by the man, David.
Yes, we were, Mark. Yes, we were. You know what we needed to have? We weren't ready to have it yet. A tea party.
Bingo. Today in 1889, Washington is admitted as the 42nd state.
Oh, okay. It was just a couple days ago, then a couple years before that, Montana, right? It was 41?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, speaking of which, quick sidebar. Did you see that there's a serious measure going on in Oregon in which there are counties in the eastern part of the state that are trying to secede to Idaho? Because, the eastern half of the state's conservative. And
every part of the state that's not Portland and Eugene is conservative.
And I guess is Salem technically the capital, whatever.
Yes.
There's like 3 small areas that are liberal, but that's where the people are, and that's where the money is allocated out of. And most of the rest of the state wants to be Idaho. I mean, I'm not kidding. If they said if they did it by county, and the counties have actually voted on this, it's non-binding, but like 2 more counties just voted to secede. Oregon would be like not much bigger than Rhode Island if it went by, the counties that really want to have nothing to do with their state government. It's fascinating.
By the way, there's no people in any part of this portion of the state. I've traveled quite a bit of Oregon. I have a good friend that lives in Portland, done a lot of fishing, done a lot of things there. There's nobody anywhere.
But they want out. and they want to go to Idaho.
Today, obviously, in 1918, the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month, the armistice in World War I was signed by the Allies in Germany. Today
I'm sorry. When you read about how many people died, I mean, there is a reason why they called it the war to end all wars. They really thought, okay, 9 million people were killed in the war, 21 million wounded. Think of the population at that time, too. I mean, you could see why they thought, well, we ain't never going to do this again. I mean, we went to town.
Right. It'd take them a little over 20 years to get right back at it.
Right. Well, the same countries involved.
I did not know this, but today in 1920, the burials of the unknown soldier take place simultaneously in Paris and at Westminster Abbey in London. It would be a year later in 21 that Warren G. Hardie would dedicate the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington. 1925, Louis Armstrong and his Hot Five begin their first recording session. I got to imagine with the infancy of that stuff, how wild that must have been to have all these musicians in with stuff they don't even, recording. What? 1926, Route 66 is established from Chicago to Santa Monica, 2,448 miles. 46, David, your Knicks play their first game in the Basketball Association of America. At home in the Garden, the Knicks did what they always do. They lost.
Cheap shot.
It was fair, but cheap.
Very accurate, yes.
57, Great Balls of Fire is released by Jerry Lee Lewis. It would sell 1 million copies in the first 10 days. 1959 on NBC, Rocky and His Friends, featuring Rocky the Squirrel and Bullwinkle J. Moose. I loved Rocky and Bullwinkle. Don't ask me why. 69, Morrison's arrested on an airplane by the FBI for drunkenness, and Billy Preston sits down with the Beatles and they release Get Back. 73, Springsteen's The Wild, Innocent, and E Street Shuffle is released. 81, Fernando becomes the first rookie to win a Cy Young Award. 87, Roger Clemens wins back-to-back Cy Young Awards. And this is for Felipe, because I'm sure he's a big fan. Today in 2008, Taylor Swift releases her second studio album, Fearless.
Nope. Have you seen her tour, by the way? I mean, it's all football stadiums. There's no 20,000-seat arenas. I mean, and her shows are like damn near a week apart unless she's deciding to play, well, let's do a second show in Orlando. So then she does it the next night. I mean, this tour schedule is amazing.
I did see that Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks are doing a stadium tour together. I'm far more interested in that than I am in the Taylor Swift tour. Personally.
I understand. I would go see Taylor Swift.
Okay.
I really would. I mean, I'm not saying like, I have to, bucket list, but like I want to see Timberlake. I
would love to see. I have no interest in seeing Taylor Swift. Justin Timberlake, I'd love to see.
And I want to see Beyonce. And I had a chance and didn't go. And I'm still kicking myself.
Those celebrating birthdays that are no longer with us. George Patton, Kurt Vonnegut, and Otis Armstrong. Demi Moore is 60 today.
Yes.
Leo's 48. And that's today was the day when. What did I miss, David?
Two things. It was 80 years ago today we lowered the draft age to 18. Obviously, we were, nearly a year into, trying to recruit folks, WW2 and all. And we said,
it'd be a lot easier if we brought them in at 18.
Right. Had 3 more years worth, I think it was because people wanted to sign up, though. And we said, no, sorry, it's 21. Also, I was not into the show at all. Never watched it. Not once. But today was the day 44 years ago, the Dukes of Hazzard, General Lee, the car, and the jump. Okay.
Loved the show.
Never watched one episode.
It was great.
Okay. Take your word. The whole Daisy Dukes,
Yeah.
Right. I know. But today was the day, because, and I had to read up on this. So, apparently they had, one of these the car scenes in every show and the car gets wrecked. So apparently they bought up like 1,000 of those cars. And so they just wrecked one and got rid of it. Wrecked one, got rid of it. And so the show went like 6 years and they wrecked a car apparently in every show. And so that's okay. They just got rid of it. And also apparently, Mark, when they did the scenes where the car, it's going to jump another car.
Right.
Apparently they put concrete in the trunk. The trunk was filled with concrete. And that was so that the car wouldn't flip. They weighted it down. So they could do the stunts.
Well, there you go.
44 years ago today, that the iconic scene in Dukes of Hazzard that you saw, was it in the open or the close?
In the open.
Okay.
It's Waylon singing.
Don't yell. I'm trying to honor the show. That's all.
Felipe's chomping at the bit there. Apparently there's something in Heat basketball history that I missed today.
No basketball, actually, but I got 3.
3 now. It was 2 before. Now it's 3.
Oh, it's 3. 12 years ago today, Call of Duty Black Ops came out. One of the best video games of all time. And 5 years ago today was the last time that I felt good as a Miami Hurricanes fan. Because it was Notre Dame. Number 10 ranked University of Miami versus number 3 Notre Dame at home at the Rock.
Yep.
And you know what happened in that game.
They destroyed them. Turnover chain, national TV.
And College Game Day was that morning as well. And 3 years ago today, Disney Plus was released.
I'm just curious, did Kyler Murray call him and tell him to do the Call of Duty one?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Thanks.
Solid joke.
By the way, since the new edition of Call of Duty came out, Arizona hasn't won.
No.
Just thought I'd mention that.
No, they have not.
Okay.
And you picked him for your upset this week.
I know, idiot.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
We go to Albuquerque for the good, where Tony Doughty was driving his semi on eastbound I-40. Witness a Jeep get hit, flip over, and crash into a concrete barrier. He didn't just call 911. He pulled over the truck, grabbed his EMT bag because he's a volunteer firefighter, and ran to the crash site. A police officer happened to be there, stopped, and he said he was a first responder. He says, "You're coming with me." Took care of the one person, put a splint on the man who was in desperate need. The woman who was in the crash of the Jeep was actually fine, but he was named a highway angel after that, and Tony is very deserving of that. For the bad, we go to Panama City, where Declan Quinn said he was from Ireland and got on the HOA and was able to obtain a $17,000 loan fraudulently. Declan Quinn's not his name. He's not Irish. He's Daryl Bikey from Wisconsin, and he's a convicted felon who will go back to jail. How are we giving HOA people loans and fake names?
I don't know. We should tighten things up, I think.
Finally, the ugly, we go to Payson, Arizona, where man was pulled over and arrested for aggravated DUI. The Payson Police Department put out a public service announcement about this arrest because the man was pulled over and he had an owl with him. He told the officers that another driver found the old owl along the road and sold it to him for $100. The Payson Police Department would also like to take this opportunity to encourage the public not to use meth, or you may find yourselves illegally purchasing a wild owl for $100 in the middle of the night from strangers at a local gas station. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, the 11th of November, 2022.
Hockey tonight. Lightning are in Washington to face Ovechkin and the Caps. The game's on NHL Network, if you're so inclined, besides the regional channels. Magic are home for the Suns today. Michigan State Gonzaga. They're playing on one of those aircraft carriers.
Yeah,
aren't they?
6:30.
Yeah, on ESPN. There's actually decent college hoops tonight. There's also a couple of good college football games tonight. A good one in the AAC, East Carolina at Cincinnati on ESPN2. I think East Carolina still thinks they can make the championship game. You know, if they beat Cincinnati, they've already beat UCF. Thinking tiebreakers, they could get in.
And they got BYU on the road and beat them, which I know is not a conference game, but it's a pretty good win.
Also, 9:30 FS1, 8th-ranked USC is hosting Colorado. They're only a 5-touchdown favorite. That's all. So, there you go.
A little bit of everything this time of year, though. Get your basketball fix with both college and pro, a little NHL hockey. You can put the MLB network on, watch free agent stuff go on.
The Jags will play the Chiefs tough Sunday because Jacksonville's moving the ball on everybody. And Trevor, I think, found something last week. So I think they score a few more points that they've been settling for. I think they play the Chiefs tough.
So covering is what you're telling me?
Yeah, get 9.5. I would actually, I'm staying away from the game, but if forced, I would take the points.
How do you think your game ends up?
Well, I think Ole Miss covers. I think Alabama wins. The Ole Miss defense is bad, but I think Ole Miss covers the 12.
And then we will talk to you on Monday in Philadelphia as you get ready for the undefeated Eagles taking on the Washington Commanders for Monday Night Football. We'll break that down and look back at the weekend on Monday.
Larry Zonka was on the Today Show this morning talking about the unbeaten Eagles and actually not dissing them. 50 years since his perfect team. Miller and Moulton, happy Veterans Day. Have a great weekend.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Excuse me. Hey, flying starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.